Let's get into it, bro. I'm excited, man.
Right on, dude. So we're
Welcome
live right
back.
now?
Yeah, man. Welcome back.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. So, dude, we just today I'm like beyond elated right now. Like my mood is through the roof. I just asked you, I was like, when you got your jar, was it leaking? We got a like 20x pop in business, and I shipped out like few hundred talos, and they all leaked.
No.
All of them. Every single one leaked. Okay. So I
Oh,
got a few
no.
emails right off the bat, and I was like, "Hey, I'll ship you another bottle." So we like went through this whole process. We upgraded our shipping to thermal bubblers. We threw in ice packs, and I was like, "Okay, guys, like I'll reship. I can't guarantee it doesn't leak. I can't guarantee anything." The first ice packs they didn't last in Vegas. It's like 110, 111 outside.
Yeah.
Second ice packs, they didn't last more than a day, and I'm like, dude, it's like kind of out of my hands with USPS when they get it. So I was like looking at dry ice. We tried a different bottle. We tried lid liners. We tried like all these things. And I finally, yesterday, we got a new bottle in from Uline, and it has a little rubber at the top. And I saw it and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't see it online if they had the rubber on the lid. And I screwed that thing in, boiled a tallow yesterday, like 3 p.m. And I put it upside down, shook it, everything, no leaks. And
Let's go.
like, you have no idea how excited I was. Because it's been weighing on me, like waking up at like 2 a.m. and I'm dreaming about how I could seal this thing. Like I was having dreams of me putting honey on the rim and sealing everything. And I mean, dude, just beyond elated. So I sent the email last night and I was like, hey, if you got a leaked tallow, like just message me your order number and a picture, and like we're shipping you a bottle. So I already got like 50 to 60 orders I got to do this week. So profits gone,
Yeah.
but I feel so much better that like I'm not selling a shit product, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean,
so we're good.
that's the long game, dude. And that's something that's 100% going to come back and pay dividends for you and your entire customer base moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, dude, you were going through that too with the cork. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
I had the corks, didn't like the way they use chemicals on it. I'm going to change the way we do it. And instead of just rushing a product out, you took your time, which, yeah, that's respectable.
Dude.
It would have been super stupid if you just got a chemical cork out. It'd been super stupid if I just told people, hey, hey, tough luck. I can't control the heat.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. Fuck that. No, I'm not trying to make profits. I'm trying to make people feel good.
Yeah.
And then that makes me feel good. So it's still selfish in a way, but not.
Well, and people would end up just flat out not buying from you if they bought a product and it showed up like
Exactly,
leaking or melted. Yeah, that wouldn't be legit. Speaking of the corks, dude, I actually today ordered the custom samples from the supplier. So we're gonna have it's gonna be cool. I'm excited to release a little teaser. It's gonna have like a little logo engraved, like fire burned
Yes.
into it. No chemical cleaning process. So that's, and you're right though. It extended the release like several months because
Yeah.
the lead time for these core samples is high, and then the lead time for the actual large order will be high. So, but that's a price I'm willing to pay.
Exactly. So you start to learn in business, like when you have a month plan, it's usually like almost a year plan. And I did the same thing with my pre-workout. Before we were selling methylene blue, I was just a supplement company that was going to sell a pre-workout, but it was real esoteric. It was like as natural as could be. So I made this cool pre-workout. I loved it. And then of course the fight happened, got my face shattered, found methylene blue, started selling that. But yeah, I remember we made it, we sampled it, we tested it, and I'm like, oh, cool, like I'm gonna have this pre-workout. And the guy's like, yeah, so give me about 12 weeks to get your batch ready. I was like, 3 months? What the hell? So, and then now we retested it. This is the crazy thing about manufacturing. We're testing everything, all the preservatives that we could use, because it's beetroot powder in the pre-workout, like a lot of it. So that will mold ASAP. And I can't sell people mold. So we were going through all of our preservatives, and I was like, okay, well, I can't have potassium bromate or whatever the hell it is, and benzoate and all that BS. So like, get rid of it. And he's like, okay, what about citric acid? And so I'm like, oh, it should be good. And I'm looking into our citric acid supplier. They get citric acid from black mold. And I was like, what the front door?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now? So I went in. We found a natural citric acid, but like the whole process to find a natural citric acid that's not black mold derived, then to triple test it to make sure there's no black mold in it or anything like that. Like it's been like 4 months. Like I was telling people 3 months ago, hey, Zeus Juice will be back in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I fucking lied.
Have you ever heard of Hofstadter's Law?
No, what is that?
I've spoken about it before on this, but it's essentially anything. Hofstadter's Law is it will take longer than you think it will, even after taking into account Hofstadter's law. So it's kind of comical because it's like referring to itself, but it's even after you take into account the fact that it's going to take longer than you think it will take longer than that still. So I think
that's facts. No, it's 100% facts. So that's also the paradox of, it's like if you want to walk 3/4 of a mile, right? Like to somewhere, you'll walk it because it would take enough time for you to get in your car and drive. It seems like more effort. But if you were going somewhere like 3 miles away, you would get in your car and drive and get there faster. And I think it's kind of like a 10x rule. And I read this in a business book one time. It was basically like, whatever, like it doesn't take much more effort to when you 10x your goals, but it usually takes a lot more thought process and the planning and the execution. So you don't have to work harder to get 10 times the results. You usually just, if you change your goals to 10x, you have to change the way you operate mostly. And that was big for me because I was thinking like on any goal, like if you want to be, I want to do a boxing fight. Okay, you're going to train your ass off to box. But if you wanted to go and 10x and be like, I want to be the #1 boxer in the Midwest, you have to you have to work harder, but it's more so you got to do everything right now. So you have to have like world-class conditioning coach, like a perfect nutrition, like everything's different. And I think Elon was talking about that. Like if he just wanted to land on, the moon, let's say, or if you want to land on Mars with like a colony, it's a lot more, it's a different goal. It's a lot bigger of a goal, but like it's still the same amount of like 12-hour days of work. You just have to be very meticulous and smart with how you do it. So I always think like that. Like if I want to 10x my business right now, we would be operating a lot differently, but it doesn't make any difference. I'm still doing like 10, 12-hour days right now.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't change the amount of work. It would change how we work though. And that's a cool concept to think about. Like you could really 10x anything you want if you just change the way how you are operating, not what you are doing per se or how much you're doing.
Yeah.
That's a cool little goal.
It's the intention is what changes, not the effort. Because if you're already putting in your maximum effort, people say like, I'm going to work harder. It's like, dude, there is a limit to your work capacity. There's a limit to the amount of output that you can put in. And Alex Hormozy talks about this all the time. He refers to it as leverage. Like, what is the highest
handle? Yeah,
the leverage, the lever that you push or that you use, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's how you scale. Because at some point, there's only so many hours that you can actually work, right? So it's how can you maximize the output of those hours, which is certainly a lesson that we all need to learn.
Yeah, well, dude, so his book, $100 Million Offer, that book, I read it, or I listened to it on Audible, changed the way I was operating, and I read it before I even started my business. So I remember being on an airplane back home from Pennsylvania. I went with my girlfriend and my teammate, Victor, and like everybody, and we were flying back, and I had the book on, and he was like, hey, there's one thing he had me do in there. He was like, write out 100 things that you could do that would add more leverage to your offer and then go through it, mark out all the crazy ones that are stupid, and then take the good ones and then list them in like cost order. And so that's literally how, when we made Meraki, I figured out like, okay, I'm gonna throw in a bag, I'm gonna throw in info cards, stickers, stuff like that. I was like, these are all things that kind of make the offer better because like you're getting gifts, like you can see that we care, everything's on point, we want you to have like a nice bag, and it didn't cost me a ton at all. So at first, like, I was like, man, what could I do? And my pre-workout was coming. I was like, we can mix it with sparkling water. I'll get little stirs. And they were like $17. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. That's kind of pointless. And you just go through this list, but it gets you in that mode of thinking like, what's the best way to add that leverage to my brand and my business to make my offer better? Because, at the end of the day, your business is an offer. So like, I'm offering you this, and what can I do to make it the most juicy offer ever? And then that's where he gets into the I think it's the Mifki, which is the most incredible free gift ever. Yeah. And that's what like all these magazine companies or like all these like infomercials that are like, hey, buy one and you'll get 17 slap chops today. Mm-hmm. They just try to make the offer so juicy with all these incredible free gifts. So instead of selling you 17 slap chops with one price, they go, hey, we'll sell you one, but you'll get 17 for free. So it's all just little business tricks that are enticing. And that's where I kind of sit on the fence with business, because I don't want to be a manipulator. So I have to like make sure it's just like a great solid offer and figure out ways to do that. But at the end of the day, like business is basically you're trying to convince someone that your product's great. So
yeah, it's selling. It's really, that's all it is. In sales, selling gets like a sort of a slimy connotation, but that's real in every single business. Like say I'm an engineer I'm not selling a product. Say I work for a company. I'm selling myself to the company that's hiring me. I have to sell myself and my services to them for it to be worth it for them. So in a nutshell, business is selling, whether it's yourself that you're selling to or your services rather. You're not selling yourself, I guess. But it's just interesting because it's all sales when you really boil down to it, which all sales is building rapport, essentially.
Yes, correct, dude. So yeah, it's massive. It's you have to change the paradigms, and then I mean I know some people that they can sell. They have no problem trying to convince people they need to buy something that they don't even believe in. But for me, I can't do it. So that's why everything that I sell usually is something that I'm like benefiting from. I made a new product in the kitchen last night.
Hell yeah.
And I'll tell you off stream. I can't even tell you yet because it can't be released for like a month or two. But it was so funny because I was like, dude, I wish I could like make this. And I made it. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I'm fucking selling it. So it's kind of stupid, but I know it's going to blow up. I know because it is such a dumb but good idea. And I love it. So I'm excited to tell you about that, dude. Yeah. I'm pumped about it. I'll send you some too right off the bat. So
I'm pumped, dude. You touched on it right as we got into it. I want to kind of circle back a little bit. You're the first, you will be the first when this releases, recurring guest, which it's a little bit over a month, which in my perception is like, oh wait, that's not that long of a time. But this is why this is so cool to me. It's been a month and your growth has been, like, at least from an outside perspective, it seems like you have grown exponentially in terms of your brand awareness, people like aware of Meraki and you as a personal brand, people using and enjoying your products. The podcast is the 8th or 9th podcast you've done in a month. And what it's exciting for me because I'm excited for like that 2 or 3 year podcast where it's like, look at what's going on in Meraki now, look at what's going on in your life now. So I just want you to speak on your growth if you don't mind. I mean, it seems like it's been pretty wild.
No, it's cool, and I'll give everyone every secret that I ever used to grow my company too, because I think it's important. But so, yeah, about a month ago we were talking. I got a bit of a pop, like a little bit, and then I think that's how you kind of discovered me. But that was the start of it all. So I think right when we were talking, I had made enough where I didn't have to do contracting anymore. Like I could live off of my sales, which I was blown away by, because for me to build something from the ground up that I thought of and then I executed, and I've done years of research trying to figure everything out, like that was amazing, dude, for me to like get to the point where I'm like, whoa, I'm self-sufficient now. Like I don't have to rely on a boss or anything like that. So that was a huge moment. Since that day, we 20x'd. But with that is always going to come problems, dude. So literally, we went from like, okay, cool, I'm making a little bit. Now it's like, oh, okay, cool, we have a ton of sales, ton of orders, and then I got to pay off my business debt. And then now we're like, okay, we broke free into profits. And then boom, first obstacle hit, which was the heat and leaking. And I talk about this all the time, dude, that ice bath mentality. It's so easy when you're about to start coming, you're like, oh, we're going to hit speed bumps. And like, oh, we're going to tackle them. We're going to tackle them. We're going to tackle them. And then you hit those fucking speed bumps. And you're like, life is over. Like, brother, when I'm telling you 2 a.m., I'm up, like stressing, like, how do I fix this? Like, I don't want people to buy my product and it not be the world's best skin product ever. And then they get it and it's leaked. And it's like everything I'm doing, I'm trying to be perfect with, because I truly believe in everything I have. And so just to hit those speed bumps and like, know, like, hey, bud, you said you were going to hit speed bumps. It was going to happen. It's inevitable. Like, not being a pessimist, but kind of being like a realist, but like an optimist at the same time. Like, I'm going to be realistic. There's going to be bumps in the road, but I'm going to be optimistic when they hit. So that's what we were doing. I mean, I was getting ready to be like, hey, I don't need to make a profit on the talos at all. Like, I will, if during the summer months I have to ship it with dry ice and resend 40 free ones, I was willing to do that. So that was a big part of it, is like that predetermined mentality of, hey, if it does get rough, I'm not going to quit no matter what. And that's that ice bath mentality. When before an ice bath, you're confident because you're warm. You have to be able in the cold, be like, hey, I accepted my fate here. So, but as far as the growth goes, I pat myself on the back on a lot of things I've done, and it's all been through research. So like years ago, when I was in Australia and I figured out what Volk was making, and it kind of like put my mind on this business spark, I started studying business. So I've been listening to salespeople. I've been listening to Alex Hormozy. I've been listening to anyone that could do two things. One, grow and operate a successful business, or two, put literally asses in seats or get attention. So I am fascinated by people that can acquire a crazy amount of attention, even if it's a negative attention. So I like listening to Andrew Tate. Now, I'm not listening to Andrew Tate and like, oh my gosh, like he's my guru. Like, you know, I'm listening to Andrew Tate and I'm deciphering everything he's saying. I'm like, that's how, right there, boom. He just said something edgy in a way that isn't technically him standing behind the statement, but if you hear it first time, it's going to create an emotion. Or I watched Jake Paul and I'm like, okay, how did he get this many people in the seats? Like, let's see what he's doing. Okay, high quality video production, him being a goofball, him being hated. You know, I'm watching all of these things and analyzing. I'm like, wow, like this is amazing. And the coolest thing about it all is because when I started studying business and I started studying these people, I don't like inauthentic people. Like, I hate the slimy salesman, like you were saying. I hate the manipulators and everything. And what is cool about 2023, and I like just realized this right before I popped, and it's kind of what led to the pop, was the more authentic you are, the more your business will grow. Right now, people are craving authenticity out the ass right now. So if you look at Budweiser, Bud Light, what did they do? They went from an all-American brand, which I'm not saying anything, shape, form, taking a stance in it. Let's just decipher objectively what happened. They went with the all-American brand. They went against most of their old school values that they always preach about. You got the Clydesdales, the horse, like good old boys, all that, which is their market. They went against it and they went to the mainstream. Oh, this is what's popping off. Let's get popular, you know, and people saw the inauthenticity. I'll tell you where they messed up. If Bud would have went woke and then dropped all their sales and they said, we don't care, and stayed woke, people would have been like, I respect. I would have respected that. You know what I don't respect? They went woke because you could tell they did not want to. That's not them. They're like, oh, this is a money objective thing or whatever, or maybe the powers behind it kind of made them do it. The people who own Budweiser, you know, BlackRock, and whatever it may be, you know, whatever it may be. But either way, they went woke, they got backlash, and then they pivoted off. And for me, that was way worse than if they just stuck with it. If they just stuck with it, I kind of would have respected it. I guarantee you right now their sales would have stayed. Because in 2023, after all the virtue signaling, after COVID, after years of everyone just trying to, you know, follow what's in and what's brand, the people who are thriving right now are the people who are authentic. And so, I mean, I'm partnering up with someone soon. And I can't really, well, you know, I don't even care, honestly. Like, we can talk about it because it's going to happen. But the grounding guy on Twitter, Earth Poppy, okay, Rob, he owns Gaia Sandals. That guy, go watch his ads. The most authentic, hilarious dude ever. And I literally, at the same exact time, realized I was like, man, like, I'm trying to make Meraki be this, like, perfect brand. I was like, I'm just going to be me. Like, at the end of the day, everyone knows it's me running everything behind it. So let's shit post some ads and give Socrates the blue tongue, you know? Like, it's what I find funny. It's what I find cool. I'm going to post that. So the authenticity lately has just been going good. But yeah, I get to partner up with Earth Poppy on the new shoes coming out. So I'm so stoked to be a part of that project. He's making grounding shoes. And so it's like a wide toe box. And I've always liked barefoot shoes. And like, it'd be cool if they're grounded too, because talking with him, he's a wizard of grounding. And now that he's making a grounding like barefoot shoe that like looks good, I was like, dude, I'm all in. So partnering up with him on that, and I'm super stoked. So as soon as we get those going too, you will have a pair of shoes, my man.
Let's go. See, I've actually just now gotten exposed to him relatively recently. He's got some, like, first off, his takes are hilarious. Like, some of his tweets, bro, just absolutely hilarious. And I don't have any guys, but I've seen them, and I've literally never seen a bad review. And I'm all about I was actually looking at like the leather grounding sandals with the copper insert in them. I don't know if you've seen those. I've been looking into just because grounding, like right now, I got my feet on the concrete, took my sandals off. I don't know a ton about grounding. I really don't. I just know that I literally feel better subjectively when I am touching grass, when I'm touching ground, when I'm touching concrete, when I'm touching rocks. I literally don't even know the signs other than the fact that we're electrical beings and the earth has a charge. Other than it makes me feel good.
Dude, I will. So he'll explain. I'll kind of give it real quick layman terms. Like, all the antioxidants, which are things that can donate electrons to free radicals, which steal electrons and damage cells, all the antioxidants, like there's not a chance that it gets to the cell always. Methylene blue is powerful because it gets into the mitochondria. We know that, and acts as a redox agent. So when the mitochondria has electron slippage and anything like that, it's grabbing those electrons, putting it back in the chain, and your body's harvesting energy at all times from that. So you eat food, it turns into pyruvate or acetyl-CoA, it goes through the Krebs cycle, it turns into NADH or FADH2. You don't need to know what those mean, you just need to kind of understand the chain. Then your electron transport chain is going to steal those things and steal the electrons and use it to get energy. So it's going to harvest the energy from the food. So there's theories out there that like food is only 1/3 of the energy that we actually get. The rest comes from like the light and the earth and everything. So when you stand on the earth, those are free bearing antioxidants you're getting basically. So it's going to work kind of the same way that methylene blue works, but in a more like natural, powerful way too. So grounding's massively important. And just like you said, it subjectively makes you feel better. So it's subjectively making you healthier, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I've learned like recently is like, man, no matter what you do in all my years of research and studying this stuff, it always kind of boils back down to nature, and it always boils down to like, if it feels good for you, it's probably good for you. Obviously not like, you know, some things that make you feel good. Those are like false feel goods.
Yeah.
But when you really get healthy, you cut a lot of the BS out, and then like you eat like a banana and you're like, oh wow, like my energy went up. Like that's probably a good indicator you eat bananas, you know. Or if you eat a fucking banana and you're like, it made my stomach upset, don't eat bananas.
Yeah,
you know?
you should eat the Pop-Tarts like that dumbass nutritionist. That was
my God, dude. Registered dietitian was like, I don't want to eat this kind of brown banana,
Dude.
but here, have a Pop-Tart in the morning.
I can't. Sorry to interrupt, but like that was absurd. I saw that and was like, that's incredible to me.
Yeah,
She's got doesn't she have hundreds of thousands of followers? She has like hundreds
like
of thousands.
500,000 followers.
Oh, God bless.
I know. What am I doing with my? I have 1,000 of the strongest Twitter followers ever. But I'll tell you right now, like, those are some sheeple. Dude. I cannot believe it, dude.
Unbelievable. Oh, on the Twitter note, that actually reminds me. If you could like drop some insight into how you've utilized Twitter and how Twitter has been a tool for you, because I think I started following you right around a month and a half ago at like 700, 800, 900 followers maybe. So you've literally doubled that in a month. So what's been going on Twitter? How has that been working?
So I never liked Twitter. I was always an Instagram guy because I realized on Instagram you could just post and there's not like a lot of engagement. Like maybe you'll get a fire emoji or someone will comment underneath and like you kind of get in arguments, but the main draw is not the conversation, but here's what I'm showing you. And I like that for fighting, so I could show like some cool highlights and edited pictures, and that was that, you know. But Twitter is all engagement, right? It is, everything's around the conversation, and it's not just the tweet itself. The tweet itself obviously is important, but it's not like Instagram where it's an edited photo and that's the whole purpose of it. A tweet can spark engagement and conversations, and most of the time on Twitter I've noticed the behavior is you look underneath the tweet and you comment. Or you retweet, you know, whereas like on Instagram it's more so like you like it and you move on. So I would always tweet back in the day, and I thought I was tweeting just some fire knowledge, this and that, and what I realized is I'm standing there, I'm shouting at nobody because I have no followers or anything. So the best way to get Twitter going, and what I found is like the most beneficial for me too, because I love Twitter for what Twitter is. And at first I didn't like it because I didn't understand it, but when you start to like connect with people on Twitter, like it's like an IQ test. Like you get a way higher IQ audience on Twitter because you guys are constantly engaging and you're talking and you're talking about points and theories and everybody's on topics, and it's pretty cool. It's like a big conglomerate of conversation. And so what I started doing was like, okay, like I'm not just gonna preach, I'm gonna go out and like talk to people. So I would just wait and like watch big accounts like tweet, and then I would go in and start commenting with them and then like talking to people and then going in just like honestly just doing Twitter, just doing what Twitter's supposed to do, which is like that engagement. And then that is like led to me having great conversations and meeting people. So like I just got off the phone with Ryan Griggs a couple days ago, the owner of Regenaissance, and like we met on Twitter. Rob met on Twitter, like had a conversation with him, and it's like I'm starting to get like all these crazy, like well-informed, even you, like met you on Twitter.
I'm having Ryan Griggs on next week.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Dude, that is a solid human being, dude, with a crazy story.
I was just about to say I'm excited to learn more about his story because he seems like an incredibly intriguing, like just a very unique person.
Yep. Exactly. No, and he is, dude. He like I said, he called me. He was like, "Hey, let's have a chat." And I thought he was gonna sell me something because that's like 9 times out of 10 when you get the "Hey, let's talk" on Twitter. It's like, "Hey, so I have an email ad agency." And I'm like, "No, dude." Like,
Been looking for closers.
Yes, I'm like, "Yeah, you have an email ad agency." I was like, "I shit post," and like somehow it's working. So I don't know what to tell you, but no, Ryan called me and we were just talking. I was like, "So what's up?" He was like, "Oh, not much, dude. Just like you seem awesome and like wanted to chat." And I was like, "Dude, I love Twitter." Just for this reason, right then and there.
Yep.
I love Twitter. So it's all about that community. It's all about the conversation. And so the more you get out and you're having these conversations with people and like bouncing ideas and whatnot, you're gonna eventually like you're gonna attract people that think like you, and then you're gonna find people you think like, and that's how it grows. And it's been amazing. Obviously, I tried to like inform people on methylene blue antioxidants and everything, and then I just post my fighting and stuff because I fight in like 5 weeks. So it's kind of cool to give updates. But I try to be like on Twitter, on Instagram, I'll post an edited picture, but on Twitter, I'm trying to like let people see like the other side. Like I've been posting pretty vocal like about the tallow issues, and I've been talking about like sparring, like posting the clips of me getting my ass beat a little bit by these fucking Russian guys that just today's sparring day, they're gonna try to fuck me up again. So it's pretty cool. So the growth on Twitter has been just a product of being authentic and wanting to engage in conversation. And it's been amazing. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the Twitter growth. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about the growth in business. It's been, man, I truly think it boils down to one, I have an awesome product that like it's helping people. So that's cool. It's also a little bit of a buzzword right now. Like a lot of people are talking about methylene blue, and there was no real like face in the industry. Like there was Transcriptions, there were a couple of other people that like kind of sold methylene blue. There's a few Amazon brands, but it's not the same of like, you could tell they're not a company that are trying to help people. They're companies that are like, we're Transcripts or whatever it may be, and like they kind of have faces and they go on and they talk about it, but they're not like doing what I'm doing, where I was looking at people online and like this girl was vax injured, and I was like, let me get you methylene blue like right now, like let me see if you could try that. Boom. So I was trying to ship her some. I like help my friend Bree with cancer. I help my mom on, you know, like all these things. Like we're a company that's really doing what we're preaching, which is like trying to make people not sick, like really fighting that. And so that's kind of the esoteric movement, is like getting away from Western medicine, getting away from the BS, seeing the bigger picture, seeing who's pulling the strings, seeing the profit, and figuring out like, oh, you don't need to do that. Like it's almost like your sickness is a profit and they're a business for these people. And if you just get a little bit informed and you kind of like start to put your health in your own hands, you could take that away from them and you can get your health back. And so methylene blue is like one of those things for that. So it's a big thing of a lot of different variables, but what it comes down to is the foundations. Helping people, reaching out, trying to help as many people as I can, being authentic as possible, even if it's some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. When I post it and I look back, I'm kind of cringing, but it's authentic, you know, it's me being me. And then just like creating that strong network, engaging with people and bouncing ideas and having conversations. And yeah. And so that's what Twitter's like. That's why Twitter is thriving right now, for that reason.
Yeah. I think understanding the tool, which is what you just described, essentially, understanding the tool of Twitter and Instagram, that's a huge piece of it. And that's what I'm learning. I'm obviously very small relatively on Twitter, but it is understanding how to use it. Like, for example, on Instagram, you never see a 15 transaction conversation in the comment section, right? You don't see like me reply to you, then you reply to me, and so on and so forth.
Unless it's about Biden or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like a fire emoji or like so true or something like that. On Twitter, it's literally, dude, there are hundreds of tweet responses. And I do think that's the coolest part, because on Instagram, like you mentioned, you can edit a picture or a video and it looks cool, it serves a purpose, which is very, very cool. But on Twitter, over time, you can't edit your articulation of your thoughts and like of what the message that you're trying to put out. Because, and this kind of harkens to another point I was going to bring up about Meraki. You can market yourself to a successful product, but you can't market yourself into a successful brand. Meaning, you can deceive people once. You can fool me once, you can't fool me twice. Like, so you can market. You could have some really good marketing, really good naming, really good ambassadorships for a good product. But brand value is created by trust, and you don't get trust unless your products are what you say they are, and that's what Meraki is, in my opinion.
Thank you, dude. That's a huge compliment, and I appreciate that. And yeah, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, you know what, Vance, stop giving business advice because you're a fucking idiot. Like I'm like I have a great product and I
Yeah.
get to help people and like it's buzzing right now. It's topics. It's not like I didn't do a master class and start like, do these crazy marketing campaigns. But the more I think about it, it's like, if you really have to do all these crazy things, like maybe if I implemented the email marketing strategy and like the upsells and all these crazy things, like maybe if I did it by the book salesman shit, my sales would go even higher. But I don't know. I feel way better that the organic growth we've had. Like about 3 weeks ago, I was paying Facebook ads and I had one ad that was doing good, and it was by the book. It was catchy. You had questions. It was a bold statement. There were arguments underneath. I had a little bit of proof of concept behind it. It was enough to get people to click on it. And so I was like, wow, that was a great ad. And I like was looking at it and I don't know. It just seemed weird, and then it was starting arguments on Facebook. Facebook's kind of maybe not the right marketplace because it's a bunch of older people, and they're like snake oil.
Yeah.
And it was just a weird feeling. So what I did is I just cut that. I said, fuck it. I'm not spending any money on marketing whatsoever. The only marketing money I pretty much spend on it is if I reach out to someone and I'm like, hey, do you want to try my product? And that's it. And I give out free products. And that for me is a way better way of growth. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with paid ads, especially if you do have something like maybe I do need to look at it and go, wow, I have something that could help people. And the more I spend money getting the word out there, the better. But for me, it is just like maybe it's narcissistic in a way. It feels, ego driven that my company grew organically sounds way better to me. Maybe it's just a story I'm falling in love with. So I'm like, maybe don't listen to me about business because I'm kind of like I feel blessed and lucky in the position I am. But there was strategy to it for sure. There were going to the higher leverage accounts and offering them methylene blue and talking to them about it. And luckily though, with like the right community, like Twitter, it's like I reached out on Instagram to a few people. This one girl burned me so bad, dude. She was all about it. She got her free product. She was a neuroscientist out of Arizona State University. Pretty girl, she wanted to do all this stuff for me, and then she just burned me, took my product, never responded. I was just
Unreal.
like, okay, which, yeah, it wasn't bad, but like on Twitter, I was gonna probably pay her to post too, like, hey, but as long as you like it, that's my biggest thing is authenticity. Whereas on Twitter, it was like, I was like, hey, like, do you want to try this out? And they're like, yeah, and then they're posting it for me already. I was like, dude, I was like ready to almost pay you. I'd rather give it to another influencer who's like in the same like-minded community as I am, like an esoteric community. Like, let's just say Noah Ryan, dude. I hooked him up and he loved it and he started promoting it. Now he got an affiliate code, so like that takes care of him on that end. But it was never like, hey, dude, I'll do $500 for a post on this. Like, he just posted it, and I was like, I woke up one day and had all these sales. Like, what the hell? And so the strategy was like pretty much get with like-minded people that might benefit from my product and help them out. And so it's such a cool feeling though, because it doesn't feel like I'm trying to convince him and pay him and like we're trying to swindle people. It's something that he likes, he believes in, and then he found a company that like actually maybe like he aligned with the brand values, which is like, okay, we're trying to prevent disease. We think modern day living is toxic as shit. And the more people we could wake up from that, the better. Because as soon as you can get your health in your own hands, you could do anything.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Are you familiar with Melker Svard on Twitter?
No. See, and that's the other thing. I suck at Twitter because I'm new to it, so I don't know all these big names.
Well, no, he's like right around the same followers, like probably close to 2,000 now. He's out of Sweden.
Okay.
But I found him through a thread. Like he posted a thread. I was like, okay, this is one of the best threads I've ever read. So like, I'm gonna give you a follow. We started interacting. And he's going to be episode 16 or 17. I interviewed him last week. We had a great conversation. He started a functional footwear is what he calls it. It's wide is what it's called. But in our conversation, I brought up Yeti. Are you familiar with Yeti's marketing and Yeti's story, the company?
No. Run me through it real quick.
Dude, it's fascinating because Yeti was founded by two brothers, completely necessary. Like one of them built custom fishing boats for fly fishing in Texas.
Okay.
And they needed a cooler that they could put in the front that would also work as a stand that somebody could stand on, but all these cheap coolers weren't cutting it. And so they basically built this cooler from scratch, and they said, it's purpose built, like we need it for our purpose. And then they realized that people were asking for it. Long story short, they built a product that they believed in and that was legitimately the best product on the market. And then this is why they blew up, which I think is so cool. because
Yeah.
I actually did a marketing project on them in college, but they blew
Oh,
up
okay.
because they gave their product to people and let the people tell the story. So they didn't say like, hey,
Exactly.
here's $1,000, here's $2,000. They got really, really big. They just gave it to the coolest fucking hunters, the coolest surfers, the coolest outdoorsmen, the coolest fishermen. Said, hey, go use our product and let us know what you think and tell the story online, whatever it is.
Yep.
And they believed in their product so much that the people marketed it for them, and now it's
Yep.
a multi-billion-dollar company. So
It's sink or swim.
Yeah.
And exactly that. It is, you believe in your product. It's like, okay, if I could tell anyone how to create a successful business right now, step one, find a gap in the market. Okay. Find something that isn't out there yet or is kind of out there, not known about, whatever it is. Step two, create a way to fill that gap in the market that you truly believe in that will make people's lives better. Always go for that. Step three, create the brand around it, tell the story. Like if you could tell your story and like if you get lucky and you get your face shattered and you got a cool story, you pay the price for it, amazing. But if not, dude, everybody wants to know your story. Everyone's starting somewhere. And like the more you make this like your hero story, your mission, level one, start today. Like everything has a purpose. There's no more coincidences. This is your hero mission. And you can romanticize everything in life and you tell that story. People want to hear that, dude. I love listening to stories. I love hearing about this brand. I want to hear more about the footwear guy. I like hearing about Yeti. Like these things, everyone gets a good feeling about that, you know? And you're like, damn, dude, that's awesome. And it also proves to you that you could do it too. So tell the story, get a product that you believe in, and then go give it out. Like literally get it out there. If your product sucks, you'll find out. It's not failure. You're going to find out that your product sucks and it's time to pivot to a new product. And that's like the best way right there. That's business 101. And yeah, like maybe you don't have 20 grand, 30 grand to throw at it like I didn't have. I started with almost nothing. I had a $6,000 credit card limit and I had $0 in the bank. And that's how I started. And so I bought my supplies and I got it out there and sent it out for free. And I remember like it's a bit of a gun to your head when you're like, okay, like that's more than I make in 2 months basically. And if I give this all for free and it sucks, like I have to work 2 months just to pay for these fuck ups. So
Yeah.
it'll make you believe in, make sure that you find a product you believe in, because it's a little bit easier when you're like, I've taken methylene blue and I'm like, oh, I know this works. Like, and I've given it to friends. I know it works. Like, I know people are going to benefit from that. That definitely made it easier. Rather, if I was selling just my pre-workout, that was a scary time because I'm like, oh, okay, like it's a pre-workout. What if people don't like it like I do? You know what I mean? Like, what if, I believe in these ingredients. I know what I put in there. I know it's the cleanest one out there. But what if people just want ghost fucking blueberry bubblegum bullshit? It's like, then the product's not going to work. So that's something you got to do that is different from everyone. Fill that gap, but you got to believe in it, and then you got to be authentic and tell that story. And then that puts you out of selling commodities. I'm not the 87th pre-workout on a shelf. I'm the one that's different, and I'm a brand. And people will always buy brand over commodity. That's why people buy Ghost. It's not the best pre-workout, I promise you. There's other brands that like will put everything into it, but they're not brands. They're just commodities. They're trying to sell and make pennies on, every supplement they can.
Yeah, totally. And that's literally what I meant by you can market your way into a successful product, but you have to like you can't market yourself into a successful brand for that exact reason.
Exactly.
Because you need trust. Speaking of your product, and I've got it right here actually, I'm about to dump some in, but methylene blue,
nice.
we went in like a little bit of a deep dive last time, but after re-listening to the episode, I kind of want to, I feel like I interrupted a lot and stuff, so I want to let you get like a little bit of time just to lay out any bases or any foundational knowledge of what methylene blue actually does, from whatever level you want to get into, and then after that, I want to get into like the topical skincare because that's something that I'm just now learning about. So the floor is yours.
Okay.
I just want to learn, what does methylene blue actually do?
Okay. So let's go all the way down to the cellular level. Okay. So I kind of broke it down. You're going to eat food. That food eventually gets converted to pyruvate and acetyl-CoA. It's going to go through a thing called citric acid or Krebs cycle. At the end, you're going to have NADH or FADH2. Okay. Those are going to get into your cells. Now, your body's made of cells. Your brain, your neurons, those are all made of cells as well. Every cell is going to have a bunch of different organelles in them and different organic bodies in them, basically. The mitochondria is one of them. Now, the mitochondria is the battery of the cell. So technically, every mitochondria in your body is the battery of your whole body. So you nailed it. We're electrical creatures just as much as we are chemical creatures. So when you take THC, you take nicotine, caffeine, whatever it may be, those chemicals, and they alter your body massively. Imagine what the electrical currents could do. So if your body's battery's bad, the way I describe it is like an iPhone, like over the years, like heat, whatever it may be, you leave it out in the car, it's like it's going to damage your battery over time. Methylene blue is kind of like adding a battery backup to that, okay? Or grounding would be like recharging your phone, you know? So there's like different ways you could kind of look at the way these compounds or these, actions that you're doing are helping your body. So methylene blue though, we're going to try to explain it in layman terms, but it's pretty deep. So you have those two compounds, right? And they're going into the electron transport chain of the cell in the mitochondria. So what the electron transport chain in the mitochondria is, we're going to picture a purse or a balloon, and there's another balloon inside that balloon. Okay, and this is your mitochondria, the way it's formed. It has two cell membranes. The inner balloon on the inside wall are going to have 4 enzymes tightly packed, and they're all over the wall. The whole wall's covered in it. And they have a 5th enzyme on the side that we'll talk about in a minute, but you have the 4 tightly packed enzymes right there. And it's phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these enzymes are what make up the electron transport chain. The 5th enzyme on the end is called the ATP synthase. So now, you have the NADH, the FADH2, the pyruvate, the acetyl-CoA, those compounds. Those are in the cell now. And what your electron transport chain does is it takes the protons from those cells and shuttles them outside. Sorry, my throat's a little dry.
Need some MB.
So what it's going to do, it takes those protons and it shuttles them outside of the cell membrane. So now they're outside the inner balloon and floating in between the inner and the outside balloon in that other cell membrane. And it takes the electrons and it's going to transfer them through the 4 phases. And every time it's transferring them, it's stealing the energy from the electrons, okay? Because those are like little electric compounds. So they're charging their batteries and they're using that charge to push protons out. Now the protons, when they're outside that first balloon, in between the first and second balloon, they're going to want back in after time. And they're going to push their way in through the ATP synthase, which is the 5th phase. So as they push back in, the ATP synthase is going to harvest that energy. And it's going to take adeno-diphosphate and turn it into adeno-triphosphate, which is ATP, the body's energy currency now. So now your body's going to use the ATP as its energy currency. I state this every time, but there is a second theory out there that actually mitochondrial water is the body's energy currency. And what that is, after those protons come back in, phase 4 of the electron transport chain is going to take hydrogen, oxygen after it's all done, put it back together, and that's mitochondrial water. Now, what happens is in those 4 phases, on average, your body is going to allow 0.2 to 2% of those electrons to escape. So let's say you have 100 electrons that were bouncing back and forth. They're still in energy. 2 are going to get out of there. They're going to float in between the inner membrane and the outer membrane. They're going to combine with oxygen and create reactive oxygen species, so ROS. ROSs are necessary in the body. Your body actually needs them. But when you have mitochondrial dysfunction from, let's say, a ton of toxins in the environment, stress, chemicals we're spraying in the air, chemicals we're breathing in, chemicals we're putting on our body, chemicals we're ingesting, low minerals, whatever it may be, anything that could be damaging to your mitochondria over time, you're going to have a higher rate of electron slippage. So now instead of 2%, maybe you're at 5, maybe you're at 10%, okay? Those ROSs, what they do is they kind of weld down a cell membrane. And when a cell membrane breaks, that's apoptosis, which is cellular death. So they go around, they actually damage healthy cells. They'll kill them. What methylene blue does now, you take methylene blue. Methylene blue gets all the way down into the mitochondria of the cell. Have you ever seen Osmosis Jones? Mm-mm. Okay, it's an old cartoon movie, great, in the 90s. And it's basically like a flu virus breaks into a body. And I think it's Chris Rock. It plays a white blood cell, and basically it's like the body, but they made it a cartoon, like Magic School Bus, like on a microscopic level, and like so all these different bodily functions are all like characters and stuff. It's pretty cool. So the way I tell people, methylene blue is like comes down. He's like the 6th man on that line now. So what he does is he comes in, or she, and it's it's methylene blue, snatches those electrons that are slipping. And what it does, it harvests the energy from them as well, hands them back off to the electron transport chain. And it can bypass phase 4. So phase 4 makes the mitochondrial water, and it can make its own mitochondrial water also, which could in fact be the body's energy currency. But right now it's ATP. That's kind of what's agreed upon. So we're going to go with that theory until it's proven wrong. That is basically going to stop if you have metabolic or mitochondrial dysfunction. It's going to stop the electron slippage, and it's actually going to help your body produce more ATP. So neurons in your brain, and dude, shout out to Rob on this one, Earth Poppy, was telling me about this. They use up more oxygen. So what happens is in the brain, the neurons, if you have mitochondrial dysfunction, you're going to actually have more symptoms there because you're going to have more reactive oxygen species there. So that's why Alzheimer's, dementia, I mean, I would even argue autism, so many things are prevalent nowadays. They're going through the roof. And it's because the more that we have these toxic burdens on our mitochondria, like, and we're not getting sunlight now, we're not grounding, 5G's everywhere, like all these things that are burdens on us, they're starting to become super prevalent in disease. And so that's why methylene blue is an unnatural supplement, but it is helping massively because we have an unnatural amount of toxic overload. And it's getting in and it's making the mitochondria help better. And that's why it's also so beneficial in everything. It's helping depression, anxiety. It kills the malaria, parasitic infection. It is boosts short-term, long-term memory. There's clinical trials for the Alzheimer's, like I was saying. So that's why it's so profound in disease prevention, like helping people and healing people. It's not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I have to state that. But, and these are all not claims against diseases, but I'm just giving you guys the way it works that we know it's agreed upon. And you can go and look at anecdotal experiences of how people have used this to help them get back to health. So it acts as that six-man on the line, helps the electron transport chain. Your body's going to have more energy. It's not going to have as much cellular death around it, and it's beautiful for that. It does a bunch of other things too, but that's basically the main benefits of why methylene, or the main beneficial reasons why methylene blue works so well.
Yeah, I would say that's like intermediate level. Like that definitely makes sense to me. To somebody that's like very like has no idea what ATP even is, any of that shit.
Yeah.
Like one sentence. What's like the dumbest way you can say, this is what methylene blue does? Not to like oversimplify it because it is a very complex thing and it does profoundly affect the human body. But like just for simplicity's sake, because I do think there's a lot of people learning about MB, but there's a lot of people. Like my dad, for example, he listened to our first episode. He's like, so what exactly is that? And he's like relatively tapped in, but like, so he could understand, like, what's like the simplest way you could say it?
ATP is, so your body wants to digest food, your body wants to think. It requires ATP as the currency, so that's like the battery. That's your cell phone charge symbol in the top right. And when your battery goes bad over the years, it slows down, or you leave your car out in the heat and the battery just can't function all the way as it used to be. Methylene blue can help restore that battery back to health. It'll charge the battery basically, or you could think of it as like a battery backup. You're slapping on your battery to have more energy.
Perfect.
So that your body can do everything it needs to do.
That makes complete sense. And I think it's fascinating. I mean, we spoke about it last time, so we don't need to get into it. But just like the origins of it being like a textile dye and all that stuff, and then somebody was like, wait a second, this shit's pretty crazy.
Dude, yeah, because they started they were like, oh, maybe we could use this dye medically because it stains everything. And then when they're doing the medical dyes on cells, they're like, oh, wait, this is killing that, this is doing that. And that's where they figured out, like, I think they had a malaria infection when they were doing their tests, and it was killing the parasite. And they're like, okay, cool, like methylene blue kills that, we could use this. And then it's just cool how we stumbled upon it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very cool.
Blown away.
I also don't think it's we spoke about this last time as well, but just like the idea that it kind of got not ostracized, but it just seems like it was calculated, like in a calculated manner, it was pushed along because I don't think there's much money to be made from a pharmaceutical standpoint in methylene blue.
You can't patent it.
That's interesting.
So there's no business there. You can patent other ones. You could synthesize it and patent it. So the story is that because it made soldiers pee blue and green in World War II, they synthesized it. But we know everyone, they're trying to make a buck. Welcome to the world. Let's quit subjectively looking at the world like everyone's just this great thing and Putin's evil and this and that and yada yada. Let's objectively look at how this world operates. Okay, everybody wants power. Everyone wants money at some level. And if you don't, dude, pat yourself on the back, but don't sit there and pretend like everyone else doesn't. You got to be like, there's danger in this world, there's bad people in this world, there's greedy people in this world, and they don't care about your health. And that's that. And if you don't believe in that whatsoever, go look at how the sugar paid the studies off to say that blame fats for a disease. Go look at,
Dope Sick. Go watch
what's
Dope
going on
Sick.
right now with, huh?
Have you heard of Dope Sick?
No, what is that?
Dude, that's a I don't know what it's on, but it's a little like documentary basically based on the real events of the oxy like epidemic that happened in I think it was Purdue, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to misspeak, but basically they just straight up lied and said it wasn't addictive, and then millions of people have died from like opioid addictions. And I want to say that they're a multi-billion dollar company, and the founders are billionaires. And the worst thing that happened, I think, is the founders, I don't want to misspeak like too terribly, but I'm pretty sure the founders got sued for like a fraction of their wealth, and that's what happened. Millions of people have been affected by their lie. They literally just straight up said it's not addictive, and then people are like, wait a second. That's a fascinating documentary. I don't necessarily recommend anybody watch it because it's kind of fucked up, but I mean, maybe if you want to learn a little bit more, go ahead.
I think people need to wake up and realize that. You know what I mean? It's like that's a great thing, 100%. I truly believe, like, especially after COVID, after Epstein's Island, after everything you're giving on a silver platter, if you objectively, like, you just sit down and you sit here and look at the things that happen, you as a logical human being have to go, we can't trust the people in charge. Maybe there's different answers. And it does open you up to, and that's the whole schizo movement on Twitter. Like, oh, it's schizo. Well, I would rather not have one definitive answer and, like, just say, oh, this is the way it is, and, like, ask a million questions no matter how wacky they are, just because, like, the truth isn't right there right now in front of us. Like, we know this. We know we're being lied to about every single thing. So how could we be lied to about every single thing, and then you still go, well, they say the sun's bad for you? It's like, yeah, okay, come on. We're still on this, like, base level. Come on now. Maybe the sun's not bad for you. Maybe skin cancer shouldn't be on the rise if we're all getting inside more. So maybe we should relook at this. No matter what dietitian tells you Pop-Tarts are good for you. Like, maybe they're wrong. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it right now.
There's you know who Chris Williamson is, Modern Wisdom podcast?
Yeah.
So he was talking on one of his episodes about I don't know if it's like one of the razors, like Hanlon's or Occam's razor or something, but basically he thinks it's not coordination as much as it is stupidity. What do you have to say about that? Do you think it's literally just the fact that he argues that stupid people are actually more dangerous than evil people because there's a very few evil people, like truly evil people in the world. There's very few. There's a massive amount of stupid people that will follow blindly.
So that's arguing that, like, the match isn't as bad as the dry forest, basically. Yeah. And the stupid people would be the dry, burnt out wood, or the dry wood, and the match is just one evil person that can manipulate it. That makes sense. I would say, I think so. Humans we have a thing in our DNA where we come from tribes, like the chimp tribes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And whether we did or didn't, let's just look at it, objectively. Like, for survival, back in the day, we were in tribes. And if you were an outcast, you thought differently, you spoke out, you were dead. That's that. So it's better to follow suit. It's better to listen who's in charge. It's better to just turn a blind eye and go with the flow of the crowd for survival instinct. And that's still in us. Even though modern day, like, you can basically call everyone an idiot and tell everyone to fuck off, and you could still go home and have food and a family or whatever it may be. Yeah. So I think instinctually, and it's very hard to break that. But your intuition will always kind of guide you, like intuitively you should be able to go, hey, I think that the air is fine outside. I can go outside and breathe and not die, which is basically during the pandemic what happened. My point with it is, I don't think it's like stupid people. I think it's just in our genetics to want to fit in from a survival mechanistic standpoint. And then the second part of that is, I do believe consciously our intuition's being attacked. Yep. So you are constantly told that you should not follow your gut. You should just, oh, nope, this is science, no matter what. So I'll give you a funny one. Like, it's stupid, it's tinfoil hat, but I'm genuinely curious. So on the horizon, the moon is huge. If you ever watch a full moon come up on the horizon, it is massive. And when it gets up in the sky, it's super tiny. And I'm like, it didn't change distance. Why is that? So if you Google that around and you look up NASA, they'll go, oh, it's an optical illusion. And that, to me, intuitively, does not make any sense. And so I'm therefore not going to just go, oh, NASA said it, logically, we could break it down, blah, blah. I have a gut feeling that's wrong. I don't know for whatever it is. I don't know if it is an optical illusion, but for some reason that's wrong. Now that might lead you down to like flat earth, anything crazy like that. But to me, it is so powerful to have that intuition, because this is one little scenario I'm giving you, but think about all the other scenarios where your intuition might have been right. You know what I mean? Like Epstein's Island, you're like, that doesn't look good. Oh, no, he committed suicide and the cameras just went off. You know, it's like they'll always try to get you to not believe your eyes. But look at what you're seeing and then use your intuition. But man, is it under attack? Everything you do from school, all you're doing in school is taught to ignore your intuition, ignore your intuition, and just follow logic. And that is just terrible, I think. And when you can regain like your foundation and go back to your intuition, you don't have to question everything. You don't have to be like full schizo, but just kind of like listen to your gut more and trust it. And like when you start to like hone in on that and get back to that gut feeling, and then you can pair that with logic. I'm not saying just abandon logic. That, you know, it's left foot, right foot. Quit hopping on one foot is what I'm saying. Start walking.
That's a great analogy, because I think there's people on both sides. Like some people are just so conspiratorial where it's like, okay, dude, you've just blindly like done the exact opposite. Like you're just blindly following every single rabbit hole. There's other people hopping on their left foot or their sheepish foot, where they're just like, like, let's just, they say it's this, so that's must be what it is. It's this, it's this, it's this. My take on it is, it's almost more foolish to think that none of the conspiracy theories are true than it is to think none of them are true. Does that make sense? Like,
exactly.
I don't think that necessarily all of them are true, but to not think that there's a portion of it, like the Epstein one, like that, to me, that's not to get too into the weeds on it, because I don't know a ton about it, but like from what I do know, that is absolutely absurd. If you think that was not some sort of collusion, then I think that you're a sheep, like, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, and it's like, it comes to the point where you want to wake people up, but like, dude, they're not ready for it. My family's not ready for some of these conversations. Like
Christmas dinner, Christmas dinner ain't gonna be the same.
Yes, dude, I'm telling you. And you see the programming, like my pops is so fucking smart, dude. My dad's like one of the smartest guys I know. It's crazy. And like, I'll start slow feeding him, and like he kind of gets it, and then he's like, you know, I'm like, well, what about Epstein's Island too, and what about this, and like they lied about this blatantly. He's like, yeah. He's like, you know, it is all bullshit. And then I'll say something else, and he snaps right back. He's like, oh, that's woo woo. That's, you know, and it's like, okay. But I do think it's that DNA thing. It's that tribe thing.
Yeah, which makes sense intuitively. Like, instinctually, it makes sense that, like, okay, if I want to fit in, because it's still hardwired in us, like you mentioned, if I want to survive, I have to fit into this group. So I can't ostracize myself too much. But like you also mentioned, in today's world, you really don't have to be a part of a tribe to survive. Whereas back then, you 100% had to be an active member of a tribe to continue living. So it's an interesting, there's an interesting delta between where we are in our current lives and our like hard wiring.
Yeah. And dude, you just got to walk the path both. Like when you want to get like deep into it and conspiracy and stuff, like one, it's been beneficial for not conspiracy or anything, but it's been beneficial for studying nutrition, because if you go that left foot hop, like you're going to end up pre-diabetic, probably Alzheimer's, and you're going to feel like shit. But when you get a little schizo and you're like, well, maybe the sun's not bad for me, you know, and then you go down that rabbit hole, and then you realize grounding's good for you. And then, you know, 6 months later, you're tan. You have a little bit more muscle, your body fat's down, you're not eating BS, you can think clear, you're not as calcified, you know, and you're like, wow, like I feel great. It's like, it could be super beneficial, but don't go all in, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But so you asked me about the fight camp, right?
Yeah, well,
and
I want to, are you going to tie that into this?
Not really, we keep going on this.
Well, I just wanted before we got off the MB, I wanted to ask about the topical. And then I have several questions about your fight camp and prep, but I want to see if you can dial in, like, how does that work topically, methylene blue?
Yeah, I just didn't want to get lost, because then we get into the flat earth and then the secret society and then all that. I don't believe it. I have no beliefs. I just like, dude, I'm not going to lie to you, 2 a.m. and watching people go on about the ice wall is so entertaining to me. So entertaining. But at the end of the day, I go back and forth with the girlfriend, because I'm like, how would everyone in NASA, like I work with a place called Aerotech in Vegas, and they map the world, and like they literally do like geographical computations, and they take pictures, and I know them all, and I'm like, they would all have to be in on the lie, because they all take the curvature of the earth in, for example, and I'm like, you know, so I just have fun with it. I like to ask questions.
Well, it is entertaining to a degree.
Yeah, exactly. But people would be like, "This guy's fucking whack." But I don't know. I like having fun with it. So, but topical methylene blue, it's the same exact thing. So tallow is amazing for the skin for the reason of the micronutrient content. So skincare industry is kind of a psyop in a way. Like they started selling things that weren't necessary to people, and it turned into left, right, one thing after another. Handshakes are done, good marketing, good strategy, slimy people, and now you think you need a 30-step routine to clean your face and skin and your hair and everything. And I was a part of that too. Most of the time, what you're doing is you're kind of damaging yourself by adding all these things. You make your body almost dependent on it. You strip away all the natural oils. And I don't know if you can see my face like pretty clear. Literally 3 months ago, I was still struggling with skin, and I just equated it to, hey, when I go to the gym, like that's that. I'm on sweaty mats. Like obviously, I have an unnatural amount of staph and dirty feet on my face and sweat. Other people sweat, blood, spit, maybe a booger here and there. Like I was like, okay, like my skin is a product of that. And then I started on with the tallow. I wanted to make tallow in my kitchen because I didn't want to pay for it. And then I was like, I literally 2 days before that saw a study on methylene blue on the skin. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I'll use it on like staph infections, or if I get a cut or anything, I'll put methylene blue on, but I don't want blue skin. And I just had this like 8 epiphanies all at once. It was this crazy moment. I got this crazy rush of energy. I was like yelling at my girlfriend. I was like, babe, we're making methylene blue tallow right now. And literally 2 days later, we had Meraki Moo in a jar. And I was blown away. I was so hyped on it. But I realized that, one, the micronutrients in tallow would reduce the blue a little bit. Like vitamin C and methylene blue takes away the blue. So you could put it in tallow. You could put a decent amount in tallow and be able to rub it on your skin, and your skin wouldn't turn blue. I also realized, like, I just saw a study on methylene blue in skin 2 days ago. Before that, like I was talking about, and it does a lot of things that tallow does. Like it can combat UV damage if you're out in the sun a little bit too long. So if you get a sunburn, it's really good for healing that. Promotes collagen production, promotes wound healing, helps the skin hold moisture. And I was like, this is like the perfect like guy to add on with tallow to make a perfect skincare product. So I did that, and when I had the same epiphany when I was doing that, I said, you know what? Why don't I wash my hair with egg yolks? Why don't I just wash my face with egg yolks too? I'll wash my body because I get staph from the gym if I'm not like on top of it. I'll wash my body with like my regular like all natural African black soap, or like maybe a tallow soap later on. But let's just try that on my face and skin. And dude, my skin took about a week, maybe 2 weeks. I got like a little pimple here and there, but like it went from like normal blackheads, like just normal gym wear and tear, to flawless. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? And it was just literally using egg yolks. I was
like, oh shit, bro, is that some play on words?
Oh shit, yeah. My ECG score from Meraki went up, bro. But no, my egg yolks on my hair and face and beard, and then just rubbing tallow on after. And I was blown away by it. So topically, methylene blue has studies, and it's shown to do the same exact thing kind of tallow does. So it boosts antioxidant genes in the skin. It will get into the skin cells. It will like oxidative stressors, like the sun, for instance. The sun is an oxidative stressor. And the reason sun can be damaging or cause cancer is when you have a shit diet. So that pyruvate acetyl-CoA I'm talking about, like if those are going in oxidized, and you have just a ton of ROS going on, and then you add on another oxidative stressor like sunlight, it's not going to be beneficial. It's kind of like shoving a fat person in the sauna and then making them sprint on a treadmill and work out. Like it's not, their body's already battling so much, you got to start it slow. You can't just jump them and throw them into the fire, literally. So methylene blue gets in and combats a ton of that oxidative stress to allow your body to handle more sun. So go get a sunburn today and then rub Meraki Moo on you and see what happens. You won't flake. That burn will go away immediately. And I had this cool proof of concept thing when I was making it the first day. I burnt my finger on the pot really bad. And I didn't have the methylene blue yet. I just took the tallow, not even the methylene blue, just the tallow, put it on. And it was like 3 seconds later, the burn stopped burning. It was a bad one. I thought for sure, it was on my index finger. I was like, man, I have to drill through concrete tomorrow. This is going to suck. Like, I'm just going to have to deal with it. And the burn never formed a blister, never like actually formed a burn. I was blown away by it. So that's kind of the mechanism of how it works, like on helping the body. It's going to reduce oxidative stress, but it does a ton of stuff. It promotes wound healing massively. I got staph in my armpit. It was about 2 months ago, I say. Mm-hmm. And I literally was putting methylene blue, the droppers on it. I was rubbing moo on it. And then I was also doing honey and garlic, which is the natural antibiotic. I fermented it. And I went from a fever to like 3 days later, I was able to drain it and like didn't have to get antibiotics. That was one of the first times in my life I got a nasty staph infection, like full on fever, and I could cure it naturally. So it's just I'm like, when I tell people I'm blessed, like, yeah, I thought of this and yeah, it's years of research, everything like that. But sometimes these ideas hit me and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm so lucky I thought of this. Like, and yeah, the product is amazing. Like, I would argue Moo is one of the best skincare products in the world. And like, that is wholeheartedly. I'm not just talking
Yeah.
shit and trying to sell it, you know? Like, I'm not even made a profit on it because I fucked up and leaked the bottles.
Yeah.
But I truly believe, like, you should see the emails I get. They're like, yeah, your bottle sucks, but holy shit, the Moo's great. Yeah, I would love a free one. I'm like, all right, fuckers.
Yeah, I gotta give that a try. Are you familiar with Ben Greenfield?
Yeah, I am.
So he's like obviously like one of the most tapped in dudes ever. I was listening to him in a podcast talking about methylene blue and infrared red light or sun exposure.
Correct.
Yeah, talk to me about that a little bit. What's like the double punch combo of those two?
My favorite study ever is they figured out that if you clean a respirator with methylene blue and near infrared light, a red light panel, it was killing COVID topically on top of the masks and the respirators. And they won't address how it can't maybe kill COVID in the body, which is so funny to me. When it's shown that it carries a negative charge, and then when it hits the virus RNA, it cannot replicate. And there's studies, paper. This is not Vance talking. This is me repeating a message. So it works the same exact way. Like, so Earth Poppy talks, and this is why I'll tell people, like, I love methylene blue, but dude, go get grounded and out in the sun first. 100%. You don't need it. You don't need this product. I promise you that. You do not need methylene blue. Will it help? Yes.
You had a tweet.
Yeah,
You had a tweet the other day, or maybe it was a week ago. I love spending 42 hours like researching something to realize it only comes back to sun and earth or something like that. That's so true.
I love spending like 46 hours researching an ailment to realize that grounding and sunlight will probably fix it.
Dude, that's so true.
It's so true. It's amazing. So methylene blue, when it reacts kind of the same way grounding does. Grounding is the same exact thing with the electrons. You get these free antioxidants, you know, so your body's able to harvest more. And the sun does the same exact thing. So there's a thing called easy water, exclusion zone water. And basically for water to hold a charge, it has to be structured. So if you throw a rock in a pond and you see those ripples, that's the water structuring itself to carry the energy and shove it, right? And it's kind of a bad analogy. It doesn't work exactly like that. But the water molecules will structure like perfect little bricks. Okay, boom, 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 boom. And you can layer it, and it'll hold a negative charge outside the cell. And that polarity from that negative charge can allow the cell then to transfer energy back and forth. And so that's kind of like you need that polarity like a magnet for it to work. And sunlight hits that, and methylene blue allows for all of that to work better. So they all come in together and they kind of do the same exact things, but they're all helping each other. It's the same exact thing like if I was building a house or like carrying boxes and I had like 3 buff dudes come and help me. That's basically what's happening.
Yeah.
So it works. As soon as you take methylene blue, you should, like, I have a red light panel right here, but I like getting out in the sun with it because it does boost the effects. And that's what was so crazy to me is like they were literally showing methylene blue by itself, I believe would kill COVID on contact. But with near-infrared light, that was their protocol to clean respirators. They were light therapy. And that's so amazing to me, like literally light therapy to kill viruses. Like that's what you could do, ozone therapy, light therapies, like UV therapies, and like that shows you how strong light is.
Yeah.
But you're psyoped into thinking the sun's bad for you still. And it's just so amazing to me that people like cannot wake up. And they're like, so, I mean, worst comes worst, you get a wrinkle and like you're just like, yeah. I understand that if you want to look good, but like if I'm telling you right now, like this is going to make you 10 times healthier and you're worried about a wrinkle, like we're not in the same conversation. So
yeah, it's different goals. It's kind of like that Brian Johnson aging dude. It's like, dude, I'm okay with aging.
Yes.
Like I don't want to live to be 100 and whatever. Like I honestly, yes. In a way, I respect a little bit of what he's doing in terms of, I think he's coming at it from a relatively altruistic perspective where he's trying to learn more about how to help people. Do I want to live like him, or do I recommend that anybody I love and care about lives like him? Absolutely, certainly not. But that being said, I would much rather get in the sun every day of my life and end up with more wrinkles at 50 than not.
Bro, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I've always known, and it was like into it. I was like, dude, like even in my 20s, I was like, I'm peaking at like 45, I think. Looks, feel,
Yeah.
brains, everything. Like I want to be 50 and be like, all right, like just in shape, like salt and pepper, fuck,
Yep.
let's do it. You know, I'm down for that. But like if we're talking looks, like I want to look like a man, but at the same exact time I had this talk with my girlfriend. We were watching Alone on Netflix, which, dude, it's like my one vein is I'll maybe watch a show with her at night, and so we just try to like not get anything programmed, you know, like cool shows like Vikings,
Yeah.
like that was an amazing
Bro,
show.
me and
Dude,
my brother were just talking about that, yeah.
when you post Bjorn the other day, I was like, dude, he gets it, he gets it. Season 2 Ragnar, the epitome of how to take over the world, dude.
Ragnar, I kind of want to name my son Ragnar, bro. I'm not even a Viking like that.
I love it,
Yeah.
dude. So we but oh man, I was going on. But basically this guy Terry, he was on Alone, and he was saying, he was like, I don't want to finish like the race with my car pristine. He was like, I want to be hitting that last turn. He's like, I want one gasket on fire. I want my wheels to be falling off. Basically saying like he wants to live his life and endure the body. I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, dude, like my face is a little asymmetrical now from fighting. And like I'm starting to get scars, like I have that big one right there, and like my body's all cut up now. My face is like, I have 2 like orbital scars from both times I broke my orbital and I had to get stitches. And I was like, man, I love it. Like I want to go to the grave, and I want people, if like they could see my body open casket, be like, that motherfucker, dude, that he lived, you know. I want to experience it all. So yeah, I'm not trying to be 50 and look like I could join a K-pop band. That's what
Dude,
I'm trying to get at.
I think it's delusion in a way, and I think it's just societally, culturally, it's more feminine. Like most women care about that stuff
Yep.
a lot more. And I always tell my mom, like growing old is an achievement. Like that is,
Yes.
it's a lot better than the alternative, right? And on what you just said, Jack London, have you ever heard of him? He's a famous American author.
No.
So he has a quote. I'm going to read it real quick. The proper function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days in trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. And
Dude,
I have goosebumps reading that, and I think that is exactly what you're just saying in the way that I perceive it. It's using your time to live, not trying to prolong your life. And the real reality of it is that vitality and longevity are actually like inversely related in many ways. So you got to
same with performance.
You got to choose what
You want to be high performance, don't expect a long life.
No, that's how it goes. You have to choose what you want. Do you want to live to be 85, 90 years old? That's totally fine. Do you want to be jacked and fucking virile maxed until you're 75? It's up to you, but you typically can't have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly. And so that's what the over optimization problem is too, especially like on Twitter. Like everyone's trying to be like completely over optimized, and they're splitting hairs, and it's like, I always told people this, like especially when I first got into studying everything, I was like, sweat over science. So you could have the most scientific approach to everything, but if you're not fucking sweating, or you're sacrificing sweat because this is the more optimal way, it's not gonna work. Especially in fighting. Like fighting is such a different sport with that, where it's like, the Russian dude I'm sparring tonight, this kid is a nut. He just goes on and on like, oh, well, we shouldn't over optimize this, and when we do 15 seconds on, we shouldn't do that, and maybe we're pushing hard, maybe we're not pushing hard. And I'm just like, brother, like like, let's get 5 more fucking reps in, okay, dude?
Yeah.
Okay, like, let's go do it, you know? But, like, he wants to be so perfect, and it's a detriment, dude. And I tell people that. And that's the big thing for me with fighting and sports and all that is, like, I had labrum surgery, dude. Like, I just cupped the other day. You could see it. Like, I have to do this almost twice a week now. Cup, do all these, like, crazy rehab lifts still. It's, like, over a year and a half since surgery. Just get my arm so I could function. But at the end of the day, like if it came with a sacrifice, like you could throw a million left straights and become the master of throwing the left hand and have a hurt shoulder for the rest of your life, or you could have your shoulder back and you'd never learn that mastery. Like, no, fuck that. I want people to be like, damn, that concussion cannon over there, like it's a little beat up now, but when that fucker throws, it is perfect. It is the most perfect form, you know? I live my life. I chase the passion. I have no problem with doing that, just as long as my brain's good. Just as long as we can have this conversation and I'm not dribbling.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be fucking Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, just like that is, I think there's caveats. For example, you hit it right on the head. I I want to be able to like smoke a cigar and have an intellectual conversation when I'm 70, 75 years old. I don't want to be, and the thing is, I've seen my Nana, bro. This was like one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. Like, and I mean that literally. I saw her once before I went to college for a semester. Didn't see her again until she was on her deathbed, and she died of dementia. It was, dude, it was like it was disgusting, bro. Like, and not like towards her, but just like a disgusting visual. Like, that was not even a human being. And she just withered to the point where it's like you almost felt grateful that she finally passed away, because it's like I know for a fact she wasn't happy. She wasn't enjoying that. And so I that's like one of the main things that drives me. And that's honestly, I haven't really thought about in a while, but seeing my Nana that way certainly lit a fire under my ass, because I'm going to do every single thing I can possibly do so that not for me necessarily, but so my children don't have to watch their father deteriorate to a bag, essentially.
Yep.
And I hate to put
it's
it
your
so.
responsibility.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, yeah, exactly, dude. And that's the thing people don't get. Like we talked about last time. Like, people will study anything in the world and they'll just neglect their body and not want to learn about it. It's like you have to. It's your responsibility as a human being to know what drives you, what makes you feel better, and what could be detrimental to your health long term. And if you can't even figure that out, like, yeah, you're gonna be a problem for someone else. So now you're a burden on society. You're a burden on your family. And if you're, especially as a male, if you're a man and you are planning on being a burden on someone else because you can't put down the fucking Four Locos or Rockstar Energy or whatever the hell it is, then you do not have my respect, and I will not tolerate that weakness around me. And so that is something that, like, I am very intolerable with my friends and shit. It's like, if you're gonna do something stupid and you want to be a burden, I had my one friend, and he was doing dip, gaming, drinking Rockstar Energies. It was crazy because he got a kidney stone like 2 months after we had the conversation too, and he was like in the worst pain ever. And I fucking laughed at him the whole time. I was like, "Come on, Bubba." And they fucked him at the ER, didn't get him in on pain meds for a while. He had to sit there and deal with it. And I obviously felt bad. I had his back and everything. But 2 months before that, he was like, "I'm trying to redline this shit." And I was like, "Hey, bud, you're not redlining this. You're just not changing the oil. Like, it's different." I was like, "I'm redlining, but I'm fucking making sure my car can handle the red line. Like, you're just neglecting the fucking check engine light."
Yeah.
That is so dumb, And then someone's gonna have to tell you. So as a man, like, you need to know your body. Like, if you don't want to sit there and learn your body, you're not a person that I'm going to ever respect. I don't care if you're a millionaire. If you're a millionaire with a belly and and you don't care and you're just disrespecting your health, like, it's harder to respect you. Like, it'd be cool if you were jacked and a billionaire. Now we're talking.
Bro, my brother, literally, I kid you not, my brother and I were sitting, we're walking around yesterday, and he brought up this exact point. He said, I would rather be like worth 50 million. Obviously, this is a lot of money, but it's like, I'd rather be worth $50 million and like jacked and in really good shape than worth like 2 billion and I'm like the exact same way.
With your health.
100%.
Yes. Dude, and so I respect people that take their health serious and we all know, dude, no matter what, your health is worth more than money. And like, if you don't think that, like, go and get the stomach flu or whatever. You can't pay to get rid of that. Now imagine having that all the time, feeling like shit because you have an actual disease. You have Crohn's, you have IBS, whatever it is. Luckily, I got all that shit early on, so I know it, dude. I remember the first time I ever had my IBS attack. So it was the worst thing ever, dude. And I just, I had to deep dive and figure it out. And like, man, I will never want to go back to that. So you're telling me it's like, if I put the Pop-Tarts down, I don't get that anymore? It's that simple? Like, okay. Like, I don't understand how people can't function like that. It's so easy to be healthy, especially, but it's harder to learn about it, obviously.
Well, I'll tell you,
But,
and to honestly tie that loop, people, I've tried to stop being, I have a tendency to be like very judgmental of people. I just don't know why. I just like,
It's natural.
I will look at somebody that's not doing something, and I know that I fuck up. I'm not anywhere remotely close to perfect. But eating, for example, when I eat, I like, a lot of times if I know that I'm not doing something, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I'll at least like feel bad, or like I won't be happy that looking back and I'm like, oh, dude, I shouldn't have done that. But when people are just like willingly going down a path, that's a different story. But what I wanted to say about that is the nutritionist. This lady, this 500,000 follower lady, people look at her and say, oh, wow, social proof, number one. She's 500,000 people following her, so she must know what she's talking about. She has triple board certified nutrition, blah, 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 blah. So she's got to know what she's talking about. And then this lady is like, hey, go eat Pop-Tarts. It's like, it's more her fault in my opinion than these people that are following blindly, albeit they're following blindly, so they need to wake up. But she's the one with this pedigree, with this platform, that's hopping on that one foot, that's doing
Yep.
and then the people are following. So it's kind of, I've tried to show a little bit more grace to people that are that way, and do my best to insert any knowledge or be a catalyst in any way to like a more vital life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so now you have the goal of like, what's the goal here? And if you truly want to change people's lives, like, and for the better, you have to deliver the message well, because we are human beings. So you could subjectively be like, well, I'll just preach it and like, at least I'm doing my part. But like objectively, we know that the messages aren't received until like someone's open to receiving it. And the best way to do that is just to live as fucking beautifully as you can. And that's the best part, is like, even like when I first started my company, I was posting on Instagram. Instagram's like my friends, my people who have like followed me and know me. And I started posting it, and dude, I didn't get a single sale from friends, and like all this whole support your friend's small business bullshit. And I've always supported my friends, and none of them supported me. I was like, okay, all right, that's cool. And then it grows, and then who comes now and buys all this shit when I'm trying to like get started, like off the ground, the hardest part of business, the first year where all the failure happens. And it's like, oh, now they want to try it. And I'm not mad at them for it. I'm not, because we need that proof as human beings. You know what I mean? Like, we truly do. So obviously, like, man, maybe they have to go through it to understand. So that's why I always like buy friends stuff like all the time. Like, I see you even before I met you. You're starting a company. I was like, that guy, I like what he's doing. Whether he gets it right or wrong, I'm going to support him so he can try. Bottom line. But we're humans. We need that social proof, and we don't like listening to anyone being preachy. So if I go home and I tell my dad, like, hey, you're fucking being a piece of shit. Put down the burger. You're going on keto for a week, pal. This is why. He's gonna tell me to fuck off.
Yeah.
But when my dad woke up and he texted me one day and he's like, I feel like shit. I'm tired of feeling like shit. That's when, okay. Because he knows who to go to. So you just got to be not the tugboat. You have to be the lighthouse. And shout out to Zach for teaching me that one, dude. That was a great quote that changed my life. Just be the lighthouse. And like those who want to listen, they'll listen, And eventually, like, if there's enough lighthouses, people are going to follow. And I really think that's happening right now. Like, this is a crazy time to be alive. Like, more people are waking up. You know what I mean? And now it's like people are starting to see everything for what it is. And I don't know how it's going to, like, change everything. But, like, man, like, I don't know what the future holds in the next 2 or 3 years. It's such a crazy thing to think about. But we are for sure at a pivotal point. This is no longer just going to be the same old shit. Like, I'm excited to see how it pops off.
Hey,
but I think it's going to be for the better.
I have this in the show notes that I wanted to touch on. This is a perfect segue. You tweeted several days ago. I'm going to read it, and then I want to get your thoughts. The year is 2030. Tap water is infused with methylene blue. MB cleans the water and enhances citizens' mitochondrial function. Depression and disease have subsided almost overnight. Increased cognition improves economic issues. World hunger and homelessness is solved. The drought in Vegas is reversed. Vance can now have a thriving garden. Neurological issues disappear and grandmas live longer, sharing precious wisdom. Sun tolerance skyrockets due to the antioxidant properties of MB, and society is full of tan, happy people. The world enters a new age of prosperity. The age of blue has started. And so,
Yep.
First off, eloquent, man. That's great. Second off, there's obviously a comical, like that's a funny tweet. That's a hilarious tweet.
Yeah.
But I want to get your take on whether or not you really think, you kind of just touched on it. Like, do you think that a world like that can really exist in the next decade or two?
Not in the next decade. I'll tell you why. I truly believe that there's literally, there has to be a little bit of evil at play. And I think we're battling that, and no one's aware to it. And it's a battle that, like, we're so trapped in a cage against, we have no idea. Like, I think we're just becoming aware of the cage we're in. And then if we want to break out of the cage, then we got to see what's outside of the cage, kind of thing. So that one was the next line was the war of 2028 against the pharmaceuticals only lasted like 2 months because of the enhanced cerebral function of the. But
elite, dude. That's elite.
Yeah, like,
it's elite tweets right there.
Yeah, you see it, dude. You see it every single day. Like, you see the hypocrisy in the laws and the way society is and everything. And, like, I mean, I'll touch on it. Like, Andrew Tate just got out, right? But that's a guy, like him or not, whatever it is, he he was put in jail and there's like no evidence. Well, I also didn't really look into it a lot, but from what I've gathered, there was not any evidence for him to be in jail that long, house arrest that long, and he got out and he's innocent. So on paper, yeah, I don't know. So I don't want to sit here and like maybe the guy's abusive as shit, which probably maybe, and like stick up for him. But my point is like, laws are laws until you have money, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's the game changes,
Yeah.
dude. If you have power and money, like how many people get out of bullshit? I mean, just look at it. So you start to realize that, like, oh, we're in a system that's rigged. And so I get my friends all the time. They sit there and they're like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit. It's all rigged, da da da. And like my one friend didn't even pay his like business license. And he wasn't paying taxes. And I was like, Bubba, I go, you sitting on the board game, trapped in it, and you realize you're in a board game, okay? And you're gonna sit there and subjectively be like, this is wrong, this is it, I shouldn't have to do this, it's my law, my natural law, and da da da. It's like, or you can objectively realize you're in a board game, and that the quickest way out is to play the fucking game, and that is the only way you can get to the other side, and then possibly get other people out of the board game too, you know. And so it kind of boils down to that, is like, we have to play the game, unless like the repercussions would be terrible if not. So the best way to play the game is, I think, the way we're doing it, spreading the good word, like trying to wake people up while we're doing it. But like, if you want to get out of it all, like, go make some fucking money, go do whatever you can, go get free, go live on a ranch, and like that's your quickest way out. But if we're talking about changing the world, I don't think it's happening in the next 10 years. Like we're kind of along for the ride in that way. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm not. I do think the world's going to change in like next 3 or 4 years. I think a lot more people are waking up. I don't see a like huge power shift where like it's fucking World Health organizations ran by Noah Ryan, like I tweeted, and you're the head of, like you're the head of water and glassware, and like I'm the head of fucking disease control. Like the people like us, I just don't think we get into power plays. I think this is something that's been set in motion since the 1600s, even before then. And that's like the deep tinfoil hat shit, but it's like, yeah, we're not in charge. We all know we're not in charge. We all know that there's other people pulling strings, and like you look at your first step to waking up is go check out BlackRock.
Yep.
Like they own everything. Who owns BlackRock? Who influences them? There's always someone. World Economic Forum. Go look at all these things. It's right in front of your face. And if you can't still wake up because you want to live in your comfy Netflix bubble, have fun. I support you too, but you're gonna pay the price in one way. I'm just gonna pay it in a different way, kind of thing.
This is, Patrick Bet David is?
Yeah,
Dude,
I know the name.
I have like the utmost respect for that guy, because let me break him down for a second. So he got really rich, like hundreds of millions of dollars exit, or maybe not even exit, but just he's worth several $100 million from an agency he started. Yep. He's used that money. He's done the exact what you just said. He went through the games. He beat the game. So now he's on the other side. Yep. He has all this fucking money. He could continue making more money. What he did is founded Valuetainment. And now basically he has YouTube video after podcast, after conversation, after YouTube video, after tweet, after all this shit about BlackRock, about Larry Fink, about World Economic Forum, about ESG scores.
That guy. Yep.
And it's exactly what I think more people need to be doing. And I gotta give him kudos, dude. And I cannot recommend anybody that's listening to this enough to go check out his YouTube, because he does the exact same thing that you just mentioned. He has a video where he breaks down BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, how they literally control like 80% of S&P 500 companies. And then so it's just all these crazy things that once you start to peel back the layer, you're like, wait a second. And then you keep peeling. And it really is like a snowball effect. It takes a long time, obviously, to get to the bottom of it. But I think the most important principle that I have learned about myself, and that I've learned about people that I interact with about that, is not necessarily that they agree with me or disagree with me on a certain rabbit hole or a certain topic or issue. And I'm actually about to put a post about this pretty soon. It's whether or not they even question it. So if they can question something openly, like legitimately, the eggs and shampoo thing is the example I'm going to post about. It's like, if you immediately shut me out because I say use eggs as shampoo, then I don't really want to be associated with you, because you're so you've never questioned why you use shampoo. And if you don't do that, then you definitely never questioned why the fuck that BlackRock owns everything. You know what I'm saying? Yep.
And dude, and to touch on that, so I don't want to associate with you, but at the same exact time, like, I'll help you get there. You know what I mean? But if you don't want to listen to it, that's fine. Because there's some, like, dude, there's fucking, Grim Hood on Twitter.
I don't know who that is.
Do you know? No, he's a fucking genius.
Really?
I'm subscribed to his Patreon.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like literally changed my life. He's tapped in, dude. He is so smart on everything, but that fucking ego needs checked. And he comes in, he's like, I don't have time for low IQ, you know, and like he'll come in. He quoted me one time on nitric oxide because I said, hey, unpopular opinion, nitric oxide is actually a free radical. You want it chronically elevated. He was like, quoted me as like, this guy, like basically called me an idiot, saying, don't go out in the sun, don't do this. And I was like, no, no, no. I think nitric oxide is a symptom. Like maybe when your metabolic function can't handle oxygen, and I was explaining it very deeply, and it was a new concept, but it was something that I learned that nitric oxide just isn't this end all be all great thing. You don't want to chronically elevate. It is a free radical. He goes, oh, and then he agreed with me. But I was kind of like, why'd you shit on me for your views? All your fanboys are shitting on me now. But then you agree with me, right? So I was kind of like, okay, and I watched him do it to other people. He just got in it with Soul Bra again. And I was like, oh, okay, let's boil this down. You're 10 years an expert now, right? So you got like a decade of studying this, and you're going around and you're fucking shitting on people who are just learning, you know, and they're trying to learn. Maybe they're being vocal. Can you imagine me if I walked in an MMA gym doing this for 10 years? There was a guy who's 2 years into this, right? And he's trying to do something, or he's teaching someone, and I walked up and beat the fuck out of him, made him feel stupid. You know what I mean? I would never do that. Maybe I'd come try to correct him, or honestly, I let people do whatever they want. Like, I don't know, I like doing this. Go ahead, dude. Like, I don't care. Go do you, you know? Whereas he is like consciously going out and attacking people kind of thing. I was just like, man, like, I used to have respect for this guy, and now I don't care how knowledgeable he is. He's a dumb fuck for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because how are you going to change people's minds by trying to make them feel stupid? No one's going to ever listen to that. On top of that, like, you're just coming off as a dick. So anyways, I've been waiting, dude, because I know he's on strike 2 with me. If he comes at me with again, I'm going to be like, look, your decade of science, you know, you can intellectually attack me, but I could physically change your intellect with an elbow.
Yeah.
Because I will drop 4 fucking IQ points with 1 concussive impact.
Yeah.
Do not fuck with me, you know? So it's like, now do we want to have a conversation and maybe enlighten people? So yeah, it gets into that where it's like, you gotta have the message all good.
Well, it starts with
that guy's, yeah.
It starts with humility, and I'm actually reading 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The chapter I literally read yesterday was about listening, and he has a quote about Socrates was considered the wisest man ever because he knew that he actually knew nothing. So it's a very what does that mean? That means that he questioned everything. That means that he never sat on his laurels and was like, oh, well, this is what I found out. He actually realized that he knew nothing, and he was constantly questioning and trying to find. So I think I
can't wait for 2-year future me to cringe back at me now. Yeah. That's what I'm excited for. Like, if you're not doing that, you're not growing. So
100%.
Just remember that.
I think that's like the biggest fallacy in life is that you have to, like, what you say today has to, like, people say this about tattoos. I have like 4 tattoos. People ask me all the time, and people with tattoos can relate to this, I'm sure. It's like, oh, well, like, what if you regret it? It's like, dude, if I don't regret like a tattoo or a decision or whatever that I have 30 years from now, that means I didn't grow at all. And like, I don't want to do that.
Exactly. Exactly.
But let's shift a little bit. You kind of just brought it up about the 4 elbows to the dome of that intellectual fighting, man. You got a fight coming up.
I got a fight in 5 weeks, and I'll tie it back into exactly what we'll just talk about. Okay. So I'm fighting in 5 weeks. Last weekend was like my last weekend of like a little bit of sugar, like not bad, obviously. My weight's not too horrible, but I do have about 20 pounds to lose, so I have to be on it. I don't want to like crash at the end. But I had a little bit of nicotine. That's when I wrote that one tweet about 2030. I was fucking nicotine and caffeine. And it's my favorite.
I got Zins right here.
It's my favorite. Yes, dude. And so, dude, Zins are great, but like I do notice it with my cardio. So I'm like 4 days nicotine free or 3 days nicotine free now. And yesterday, like, my cardio just bumped back up.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, dude. Like, I notice it. So unfortunately, I can't do it. And my dreams are important to me. But as soon as I'm done with this fight, I'm smoking a cigar. Like, in the cage. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I'm craving it. So, but yeah, dude, I'm fighting. But, so here's the kicker. I'm fighting for 500 and 500. I'm going to smoke this guy. Okay? Like, I will smoke this guy unless, you know, anything happens. Anything could happen. But I know I'm better than him, and I'm putting in so much work. So I'm going to go and make sure, like, I minimize all risk, and I don't get tired, and, like, I can just put on this amazing performance. And, like, he's going to probably touch me, but, like, good luck putting me down kind of thing. And, of course, you need to have that mindset before a fight or else, you know, get out of the cage. But $500 to show, $500 when I win. That's $1,000. My medical bills are $1,100. So as of right now, as it stands, I'm paying $100 to fight in 5 weeks, okay? I'm in the board game of fighting. I see the board game for what it is. I'm aware. I woke up to it. The promoters make all the money. The fighters pay all the money. They get concussive impact. The promoters don't have to pay a high insurance premium because I have to pay $1,100 in medicals, and they pay me $1,000. They don't have to pay for it. They have the platform. They have the stage. So I need them. But they need fighters, right? So I've decided. I don't know yet all the way how I'm going to make it happen. And I don't know like if it's set in stone unless my next fight's worth a bit more. I'm probably not going to fight anymore after this fight, but for promotions. So unless it's like a big time promotion and like we work it in, that's fine. So normally what I'd have to do is take 4 or 5 more fights, $500, $700, maybe $1,000. Maybe I get one payday. It's cool. It's like I make $1,000 on the fight. And then the UFC calls and I go play their game of $15,000, fight money. And then I pay half in taxes and still not enough to live, right? Or I start bringing people to me and I start finding opponents and I start bringing them in and we have a scuffle in a gym. Spar, headgear, whatever it may be. Or we go to the top of Mountain's Edge where it's a cool arena and we have a scuffle and we film it and we sell pay-per-view on Twitter. And tell me right now, Jake Paul didn't do that. Floyd Mayweather didn't do that. The smartest people in fighting always brought their promotion themselves. They didn't let the promoters feed off the fighters. Eventually, I want to get fighter pay through the roof because it's so insane how little we get paid for what we have to do with nothing, no amenities. Like the UFC built like almost $1 billion institute, the UFC Performance Institute, and they put it in Vegas. Like, what about a guy fighting from Brazil? You're gonna pay him $15,000. He doesn't get access to the Performance Institute unless he moves his family to Vegas, pays rent here. It's so stupid, dude. So they could have just been paying fighters more. Don't give us an institute. Give us like pay so we can pay for our own institute, kind of thing. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to sit here and just bitch and complain about it. I'm going to play the board game and then change it up. So I'm going to find a way to have fights still. I'm never going to stop fighting until like my body, it's time to quit. I want to be the best combat athlete on this planet still. And that's my goal. And how I get there, is like, if I don't want to play by the UFC rules and, let them make money off of me, then I have to change up the way I do it. So right now I'm looking at like maybe setting up, I swear on my life, an esoteric Twitter fight. Like, bro, finding someone and I'll fly them to Vegas and we sell a $10 pay-per-view. And that to me would make way more money and way more sense than having a sanctioned fight. And so that's where I'm trying to pivot to next. I have such a bad taste in my mouth with these promoters who are making so much money off of guys getting their face shattered.
That's a phenomenal idea. Like, I really mean it. I would. See, the thing, to me, I love the UFC. I love watching UFC, but paying the money for it, it's not that it's... I've heard people say, like, why do you pirate... Like, I've pirated fights before. Well, what about the fighters?
I do too.
I'm like, dude, are the fighters not making that shit? What do you think that's going to the fighter, bro? Like, maybe a fraction of a fraction. So, I think that's phenomenal, dude. I think you mentioned Jake Paul. His arc has been pretty phenomenal, bro. Like, he went from that hated kind of dude, like, who the fuck is Jake Paul, dude? Fuck that guy. To, okay, well, he's kind of a good boxer. I got respect. To, like, okay, bro, this guy's really out here doing it now. And he's brought the money to him. He's brought the views to him. He puts asses in seats, like you mentioned. And I can almost, I don't want to guarantee it, but I would put a lot of money on the fact that you would make more money on an esoteric Twitter bout than a 500 payday.
100%, and then that would be money going to me. And I know for a fact I'm more responsible with the money. You know what I mean? Like, literally, I've given out, not that even the towels, methylene blue. Like, if I showed how many bottles I've given out for free, I should not say that out loud because then people are going to hound me because they know I can't say fucking no. If I showed you, though, like my friend Brie beat cancer, like, that's one of many. When we were first starting, a guy bought from me. My wife's on chemo and everything. Boom, I sent him 4 bottles right off the bat. I was like, dude, you're not paying for this. Your wife's on chemo. I'm not going to fucking sell you this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give it to you for free. So part of the margins, like, it actually helps people, like, because I give it out for free. And that would be the same exact thing, too. Like, if I made $20K a fight, like, holy hell, like, I would be giving a lot of that back. You know what I mean? And so, and Jake Paul's got the little Boxing Bullies Foundation, too. And, like, right now, like, dude, the guy's a fucking idiot sometimes. And, like, but at the end of the day, like, I respect what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I respect massively what he's doing. Andrew Tate, guy's a fucking dummy with some of the shit he says, whatever. He's very smart, actually. I shouldn't say it like that. I just don't agree with everything he says as a person. That's fine. he's got that foundation where he's saving dogs in third world countries and he's donating millions, and he didn't even tell anyone about it. He started showing it. It's like, we need more responsible men with money than we do corrupt men with money. That's that bottom line. And women, anyone. We need more responsible people with money, and because they'll do something better with it. And I know for a fact, money if I got for a fight would be way better than in promoter's pocket.
Yeah.
So
no, dude, I think,
that's crazy.
well, first off, we mentioned it last time. Like, I have a goal of doing at least one MMA fight in my life. Like,
you have to.
like at least one. And I kind of laughed yesterday. I was like, because I went to Muay Thai for the first time in a while, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, dude, I might get my shit rocked, but like at least I'll be able to say that. At least I'll be able to say I fucking went in a cage and put myself out there and put myself on the line. So that's something that I want to do. I need a trainer. I need somebody to fucking. No, okay.
We will, dude. Yes, no, we'll get some work in for sure too. I wish, dude. I mean, everyone asks me like, "Are you gonna coach when you're done?" I'm like, man, I don't even know. But it's tough too, cause like I'm trying to become the best fighter I can be too, you know. But dude, 100%, I would love to help you out with your first fight.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
No,
that'd be amazing, especially the weight cut. That's like, I see so many fighters ruin the weight cut. It's brutal.
That's gonna probably be the toughest part. I remember you saying that's like one of the toughest things you ever done. That the weight cut, that's pretty daunting, dude. I like eating. I like food.
Yeah, exactly. I got about 20 to go. So it's like, the cool thing is at the end, it all comes down to kind of the last 10 days. That's where it really gets tough, because that's when you go into keto. It's all water manipulation. So you have to do everything backwards. What people don't realize when you cut weight is like you water load. And so you would be like I literally am going to gain like 7 pounds of water right before I lose it. But the reason for that is you have hormones in your body that will hold on to water. And like Vaspirin is one, aldosterone is one. Some are mitigated by heat. Some are mitigated by excess water, not enough water. Some are mitigated by salt. And so you manipulate these hormones. So the way I tell people is like, instead of like being like, cause I used to see fighters like start cutting water like a month out, they're sweating. And I'm like, brother, you are like literally you're skyrocketing these hormones that are going to hold on to water. And so you're going to be like a damp shirt that someone's got to wring the water out on weigh-in day. And you're going to feel like shit for weeks before. You're not going to be performing well. Whereas if you go well-fed, well-rested, hydrated the whole way up, and like the last 10 days you start to cut carbs, which is gonna, carbs and water go hand in hand in the muscle. You're gonna start peeing out with that. And then you water load, so you actually drink like 2 days of 2 gallons of water each day. Like throughout the day you spread out, and you're just pissing, and then you're flushing your electrolytes. Then you cut salt right at the very end, so you're not manipulating your aldosterone incorrectly. And then your body thinks you're overhydrated now, and you've peed out all your water, and your hormones are like all cool, and then you go sweat in that sauna, and now you got like a sopping wet sponge, and it's just like whoosh, and you can just get that water out of you real quick. And by the time your body's like, whoa, what the fuck, we're dehydrated, we need to dump these hormones, you made weight and you're rehydrating. So that's the biggest thing that I see fighters make mistakes on, is like, one, nutrition, supplementation going into the fight, or even strength training, but two is like the weight cut. They fucking butcher, dude.
Yeah.
They do it so bad, and they hit these walls, and they don't know why they can't sweat anymore. It's like, well, one, you were stressing, which is always going to hold on to water, but two, you were doing everything wrong. You were prepping your body to starve. Your body's going to, like, if you go out in the desert, you're not going to die right away, because your body's going to have hormones to combat that, to hold on to water, turn you into like a camel. And yeah, you're not gonna be able to just sweat that out in a sauna. So that's the biggest thing right there I see fighters fuck up, is the weight cut. It's the biggest battle too. It is, dude. Like,
dude, I just was thinking while you're saying that about this Twitter fight thing, bro. That's like, dude, that is such a fucking good idea. Like,
I don't know who to fight. Like, we'd have to make it like, fuck. Like, the problem is I don't have a huge following. So why are you gonna fight a professional fighter without a huge following, who's fucking dangerously handsome and good looking? But basically, like, why would you want to fight me?
Yeah.
So I have to get eyes on me for sure. And I was just thinking, like, man, I would just, like, I don't know who it would be. It doesn't have to be beef. It would just have to be a fight. But like, even if we sparred, like, man, I could probably sell, like, I promise you, if me and you just went and had a spar and we sold it for $5,
yeah,
like, we could make money for sure on that. So it's like, it doesn't
yeah,
have to
all
be
60
crazy,
of my
like,
fucking followers would definitely.
I'm telling you though, like, it would,
Yeah.
because like of that, like, fucking hell, like, some people would want to see it get shared, whatever it may be. So I'm trying to figure out, like, who could I do this with, you know? So it's something that I'm in the talks about for sure. I don't know if I'll fight in the meantime. I don't know if I'm just gonna focus on that. I have a few projects I want to do. I kind of want to do like a getaway, like combat vacation, and like get some like big like esoteric names there too. and do like a weekend like in some cool ass like maybe like Soul's going to Costa Rica, but like some jungle, some like getaway oasis where like we
Yeah.
all chip in, we all get a house, we surf, we meditate, we breathe, we ice bath, we're out in nature, we're doing hikes, we get a chef, you know, and like have just a fun ass weekend too, and like do combat. Like I could do a seminar, teach like basic street fights 101 defense.
Yeah.
So I have that kind of planned. I have that new product that I'm so stoked about with Meraki. It's the dumbest, but it's the easiest new product ever that's like gonna do a killing. And then the Twitter fights, dude.
Yeah.
Like I would much rather be fighting someone on Twitter than fighting for a promotion at this point. Like building it up and like making it and start actually sanctioning these fights, just like Jake Paul did, just like Floyd Mayweather did, and start it from the ground up. So
It's just like Tucker Carlson,
those
man.
are all on the horizon.
Tucker Carlson left Fox and is now has the most viewed interview of all time on Twitter, like in the world ever. But it's on Twitter.
In the world ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he left.
So it's
Fox
like
News is
literally
essentially
like
a promoter. Like in that instance, they're promoting
Yes.
Tucker Carlson's show. Tucker Carlson said, "Fuck that! I'm going to bring it to myself." So yeah, it's a
Yep.
time-tested philosophy.
Attention is currency.
Mm-hmm.
That is for sure. Attention's energy, it's currency. So if you get attention, that's currency 100%. And you can monetize it in whatever way, shape, or form you want. But getting the attention's hard, especially nowadays. Like everyone's, it was easier when Jake Paul was coming up. Like, go watch their old shit. Like they got views, but they invented the word influencer, so they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But they were just in with no competition on the ground floor. It's kind of like me with Methylene Blue. Probably not the best salesman, most capable, whatever it may be, but I got no competition really.
Yeah.
So it's going well for me.
That's how it goes.
Kind of in that regard.
Hey, gotta be.
Yeah.
I heard it said it's better to be lucky than good, but better to be both.
Yeah, I mean for real, like obviously I'm someone who cares, so it's like I'm gonna be like try to be the most perfect brand in the world. But that's just being realistic. Like it's not a hard thing to sell. It works. It's great, and there's not competition. It's kind of like with Jake Paul. It was working. There's no competition. I don't see a ton of Twitter fights, but I know every influencer always brings it up, dude, and they always get in the fight scheme. I think we'd have to trick them, and I'd have to take down all my fight shit and just kind of post like a frail video of me, like
Yeah.
maybe hitting bag and like try to sneak someone into it. But
Yeah.
it'll come. Eventually, there'll be beef, I bet. Someone will disagree with me. We'll have different ideas, and then they will go to insults. I mean, Grimm's already done it with me, so it's like, I know for a fact I can never get his skinny ass in a cage. But gosh damn, wouldn't you pay to watch me whoop the shit out of Grimm?
I'd fly, bro. I'd be there in person, dog. I would come watch for
Exactly.
sure. The
Asses in seats.
the one thing I wanted to touch on that I kind of forgot to, like we've talked about all the good things about NBA. Is there anything that's like negative that could be like, what's like the other side of the sword? If there is any.
Yeah, so methylene blue. Yeah. No, the main mechanism of the serotonin is the one thing to worry about. So if you're on SSRIs or there's like MAOIs or anything like that, you don't want to combine it. I did the fucking lovely due diligence for you all in the name of science, and I microdosed a gram of mushrooms and took it, and it enhances psychedelics. I will tell you that right now. So on a normal day where I just want a little bit of clear-headedness, I had a decent trip. So that is something to be aware of. But SSRIs, antidepressants, anything like that, you don't want to mix it with that. You always want to listen to your own body. The cool thing about it is like the risk-reward profile is if you overdose on cyanide, monoxide, anything like that, they would shoot you up like 150 to 300 milligrams IV push. And at that point, you lose a lot of the benefits of the low-dose methylene blue because it does become kind of an oxidative stressor at higher doses. But it would reverse the hypoxia and the methemoglobinemia, which was what would occur if you did overdose on a compound like cyanide. And so low dose is, I mean, it's not risk-free. There's always risk on anything, especially on antidepressants. But I encourage everyone to Google methylene blue deaths, methylene blue complications, and see what you find. That's it. Do your due diligence. So the risk of it is very low. If you're on antidepressants, I would stay away. 100% don't recommend mixing those. And I would start low dose. Like literally our bottles are 5 milligrams a dropper. That's kind of standard now I'm seeing on Amazon. So start with a drop, start with 2 drops and work your way up. You could do 0.5 milligram, and you might feel benefits from that. Actually, I've heard people feeling benefits from like 4 drops of methylene blue a day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So the risk reward is great on it. And that's what I love about it too, is like, it is not natural, but it's also, it's not like you're doing a parasite cleanse with ivermectin and some crazy protocols, or anything like that, which would be beneficial. But like, it comes with risk. This is one of those things that seems like it's super beneficial, and the lower the dose, the better.
Yeah.
So I don't encourage anyone to do over like a 10, 15 milligram dose.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that, because obviously it's easy to get caught up in all the positives, but it's good to, in my opinion, to acknowledge any things like the things you just mentioned too. I'll tell you this, I like to research. Obviously, I don't have any interest in backing things or like supporting things that I've never tried, like anything like that. So I got this probably 2-3 weeks ago, and I started with a pretty low dose, and I would say that I didn't really notice anything, but what I haven't done is tried it in isolation. I tried MB with and I did Shilajit, and I've done some magnesium L-theanine stuff, but I will tell you this, MB and a couple other things have had me having like my most focused sessions that I've ever had in my life, in terms of like,
I'd love to hear it, dude.
Just intent, focus, feeling. It's like a lower feeling of discombobulation. Like I just feel like my body is more in alignment with what I'm trying to get it to do in those sessions. So I won't feign like I haven't done MB in isolation yet, but it's definitely been a part of that stack. So I think that's worth something.
No, for me, it makes me feel just more capable. Like, I don't have the brain fog. I don't have any anchors on me. I don't feel boosted. I don't have NAS, but I don't have anchors on me. That's the way I kind of tell people. It takes the lows away. Anything dragging you down. So, dude, I'm stoked that it's working for you. You know, I've had a few amount of people, not a lot, but a few are like, I just don't notice it. And I'm like, cool. Like, that might be a good indicator. Like, that might mean that you're not having a crazy, like, toxic or oxidative overload. Like, maybe your body's redox status is good, and maybe you don't need it, you know? So go ground, get some sunlight. And that, honestly, I love hearing it, like, helping people. But, man, I kind of like hearing it when people are doing good and they don't need it. Like, I don't think we should have to take unnatural supplements. Like, I would love to be like, nah, like, the world, the earth gave us everything we needed. We can combat any disease, like, naturally with, you know, we don't have to make it, like, crazy compounds to do it. So that's the way I would like to live, but I do understand, like, shit, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. If you look at this, look at the research, look at what it's doing with people, and look at their anecdotal experiences, it's helping for a reason. So unfortunately, we can't live in a natural world, and I'm just glad that I can give a very low risk, awesome product that's like helping people in a good way, like super beneficial. So
without a doubt. And I got a buddy named Jarrett who had this kind of paradigm shift for me one time. He was talking about like supplementation and different exogenous interventions and things like that. We have been inundated. His point was this: we have been inundated for our entire lives with toxic, like not good environmental things. So to use a synthetic or unnatural enhancer, I don't think it's not as far out of the question as maybe it used to be. Or for those people like somebody like a Maasai tribesman or somebody who's literally like lived in a pristine environment their whole lives, I would recommend you not take supplements. I would recommend you not take synthetic things, but because you haven't been exposed to the absolute unadulterated, toxin-filled like environment that every human being in the Western world lives. So that's where I think that your comment about the natural world and it not being natural, I think that it almost like it's a sign of the times. It's like you got to do what you got to do because we've been inundated.
Yeah, no, that's facts right there. The like, I see it with fighters sometimes. They're like, oh, I don't take any supplements, and they're winning every fight, or they don't have a strength conditioning program, whatever it may be. And then like someone's like, no, you need it. Like, dude, it's what the pixels on the screen say. And they do it, and it doesn't work for them. You know, it's like at the end of the day, it's what works for you. I know guys that do like collegiate level strengthening or professional level strength and conditioning programs, and they don't get tired in fights. I know dudes who smoke weed every day, don't do any programs, and they don't get ass in a fight. You know, it's like it's gonna come down to what works for your body too. You know, and like when you look at like even just methylene blue, how it works, and I'm talking about like pyruvate, Krebs cycle, all that. Like that's not even the full mechanism how everything works. Like if you go from like food to energy, it's a whole textbook, you know? It's this complicated thing. So you get this fucking dumb cunt that's like, raw carrots will fix you and celery juice will cure your disease. And you're like, dude. But like everyone's different. You need to stop pushing these ideologies and you need to teach people how to find what works for their body. That's that, you know what I mean? And so education's the only thing that will like not education, but knowledge on their own body and their intuition and like the foods that work with them.
Yeah.
That's the only way to solve these problems, not a diet per se.
Totally
but
agree.
teaching them how to find the right diet for them.
Yeah, I completely
So
agree.
yeah, dude, that's tough, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how can you?
So yeah, I had that. I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think there's a little lag. You got it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I was just the other questions I had, like we answered a lot of the ones I got on Instagram when I posted. The one was like fight prep, and so I was just gonna kind of give a glimpse.
Yeah, do
like
that.
today's sparring day, so yeah. So Monday I started my week off. I went and did kickboxing sparring, but I kind of kept it relaxed. But then I did some super high paced wrestling drills, and so one of the quickest ways I noticed to get in shape, and I learned this, I saw somebody talk about this with like a marathon. So say you wanted to run a marathon and you wanted to do 5-minute, 30-second miles. I don't know marathon time, so excuse me. But let's just say you want to run a mile in 6 minutes, and right now you ran a mile in 7 minutes. It would not do you any beneficial. I mean, it would, but it wouldn't be as fast of a result. You going and running 10 8-minute miles, trying to get your mile time lower. It would be more beneficial for you to go, hey, I want a 6-minute mile pace. You to run a shorter distance at like a 5-minute, 30-second pace and working the volume up until you could handle that. And so what we were doing on Monday was we did 15-second all-out goes wrestling. So we started on the wall and like 15 seconds of the craziest pace ever, and then a minute of just light punching bag, getting the heart rate back down, and go again and again and again. Next week, it's going to be 30 seconds. Next week, 45. Next week, a minute. And we're just building these like long sprint times to handle that 100% pace. Because we could I could spar 20 rounds at a light pace, but a fight pace is different. So it's best to get like as close to fight pace in these short times. You don't have to do 3 5-minute rounds as hard as you can, right off the bat. You got to build to it. So we did that, and then I hit a little shoulder recovery lift. Yesterday was a light day. So since we're sparring on Wednesdays, I treat Tuesdays like weigh-in day. So I fasted 16 hours. I did some cardio, and then I broke my fast with what I break my fast like after a weight cut. Like I had some dates, I had good fruits, I had a lot of carbs, I had some creatine, I had a perfect amount of minerals, and then a good 4-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein, and a little bit lower fats because you don't need a lot of fats, especially after you weigh in. And then today I'm kind of treating it like fight day. So I had a light breakfast, I'm gonna have a light lunch. We spar at 6:30 tonight, so that's in about 5 hours. I'm gonna try to take a nap before. I'm gonna wake up, do my Wim Hof breathing. I'm gonna get in the mode, and now I got a couple crazy ass Russians that are gonna be staring me down and want to take my head off tonight. So I'm gonna simulate as much as I can a fight, like literally simulate it. The only bad part is after tonight, I don't get to go home and fuck off. I have to eat clean, keep the weight going and focus on recovery. And then tomorrow, so I might go do a power lift tonight, just strength output, not to like tax the nervous system anymore, but just kind of keep the muscles activated. I'm looking to do tomorrow a track session in the morning, VO2 max. So I'll hit a 800-meter run, 2 400s, 2 200s with a minute break in between. Forget the strength conditioning coach's name. He's famous. I think he just worked with Jake Paul too, but it's like his famous track workout. But just going to blow the lungs, take Thursday night off. I'm going to take Friday completely off. Just focus on working, Meraki, doing the whole 9. And then Saturday, we're going to come in, play a fight, do some drills, do some technical rounds, and I might jump over at Hotworks, which is a sauna place in Vegas, and they have workout equipment in the saunas. So I'll cycle in the sauna. And then Sunday, just relax and kind of do some drills and film study. So the cool thing about humans that I learned early on is we have mirror neurons like monkeys. So the monkey see, monkey do. We're some of the only animals that can see somebody do something, and our same neurons will fire us imagining doing it. So when your neurons fire from one neuron to another, the more you do it, the more you get this myelin sheath around it. So it becomes like this crazy fire pattern that you have to focus on to a speedway. Like you just put it there and it's going to fire the other thing. And that's like a reaction, or that's like a technique. Muscle memory is what it's called. And so if you watch film, actually, you can fire off these mirror neurons. You watch somebody speak, you watch somebody play a video game, whatever it may be, you will learn how to do what they're doing because your mirror neurons will be firing. So the same neurons that you would need to do that, they can go off. And that's like the epitome of why we can learn so well. We can monkey see, monkey do. So I highly recommend, like, fighters need to be watching film. Find someone that you can emulate and watch it on anything. And that's one of the bigger game changers for me is film study.
Well, it sounds like, I don't know why, while you were just talking, I got this nickname for you, like the Mike Minter of MMA. Like, somebody who's like so dialed,
The Mike Mentor of MMA.
like so dialed in, because he was like the first like scientific and like very, very nuanced perspective on bodybuilding. It wasn't just like protein and lifting. He was like really dialed into it. That schedule is like everything that you need is already. I'm sure you have like relative. I don't know how like not tyrannical, but how precise you are with your diet. Like I'm sure you have that stuff figured out as well. I just find that fascinating. I always find it fascinating how people prepare, especially at high levels. Like some of my pro baseball friends, they have completely different preparations, but they're all like very, very true to that preparation. So I always find that fascinating.
Correct. Yeah, dude, and that's massively like that's what's basically going on when I was talking about don't lift weights if you haven't lifted weight your whole career. Like you don't need it. Maybe it'll help, but like do what works for you. You know what I mean? Like getting Nate Diaz on an Olympic strength protocol isn't gonna work. Like that guy needs to smoke a blunt and do 20 rounds on a speed bag. That's always gonna be his thing. You know, he's drowning people, so can't really change it. I definitely have some other things I do that a lot of fighters don't do. Like I work out fascia stuff, and I had a fascia coach, and it was pretty crazy. And like the mind, I do a ton of subconscious work. I have like little drills. I actually just wrote down on a piece of paper, doubt, fear, logic, waiting, like all these negative things, gassing, like that I could think of just off the top of my head. Wrote them all down. And I just sat with them and visualized it. And then I'm taking up to a mountaintop or wherever I want to do it. I'm gonna burn that fucking paper, let it go. And then I'm gonna do the same exact thing with like confidence, striking, all that. I'm gonna write it all down. I'm gonna visualize it, burn that paper, let it go. And it's like to like kind of just in that subconscious mind of like getting that concrete like built in, like I have these good things, I'm letting them go, and I'm washing away the bad shit too, and just building that. Like those are little things, and they sound woo woo, but your subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or fake, and so you have to be consciously aware of that. And so yeah, like maybe it's woo woo, and like maybe if you hug a tree, you don't get any benefits, but if you feel like you're grounded and you're hugging a tree, and like trees are, that's what Rob was talking about, is like they're insulated, like you're not getting electrical charge from hugging a tree. Don't be a tree hugger. But I'm like, but if it feels good, my subconscious does not know the difference between what's real or fake. It's going to be a benefit. So I do a lot of subconscious work. I mean, I do a bunch of different shit, but the big thing is the knowledge of nutrition. Like, it's not hard for me to lose 20 pounds and feel good. Make it easy and not be dying. Where back in the day, dude, oh my God, that sucked. Yeah. So it's definitely an advantage.
But you've also built up that experience, and also on what you just said about the tree, like I'm a placebo effect respecter, dude. Like,
Yep.
If it works, it fucking works. And my old coach in college, the hitting coach, would basically say 300. I don't know if you know much about baseball. Like if you hit over 300, that's like a pretty solid average. Like, basically if you get 3 hits out of 10, you're above average. And he's like, if you're hitting 350 or 400, go ahead and don't listen to me, do your own routine. But if you're not, you're going to do what I say. And it's like, if it works, it works. But also you have to have the humility and the quantitative, measurements that if it's not working, you need to step back and reprogram and re-engage.
Objectively look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the problem, is we're subjective creatures. So I feel, you know, my favorite thing is when I get in little arguments and they're like, I don't know about that. And I'm like, well, I know you don't know. That's why I'm telling you about it. Or they go, I just feel like, well, you're feeling. So you're telling me you're not thinking about this. You know, you're just going off gut feeling, which I know I just said about intuition, but when you're not having the results, you don't get to sit here and tell me, well, I just feel like, no, we're going to do the results. Because, sometimes you do have to trust somebody and turn the brain off and do some shit, but not all the time. Most of the time, it's like, you know, you're going to know what's best for you, but you only can know those things through the trial and error, too. So that's why I said not everyone's ready to have just intuition. Like, I started intuitively eating after I learned everything about nutrition, started doing shit. And then, you know, I was having those days where I was like, all right, do I want oats? I was like, I don't know, I'm not craving carbs right now. I don't need them. Whereas though, like when I was first like learning how to cut weight, like I couldn't do that. I had to shut the fuck up and do it, or else I would have grabbed Skittles every single time. So
no, that's exactly right, dude. And I think that can be correlated to so many things in life in terms of the intuition comment. Basically, like the clearer that your intuition comes, the more you can trust it. But it's almost like a chicken and egg competition, because it's like, what comes first? You trusting your intuition at being right, or like the intuition, I don't know how to explain it, but like basically it's kind of, it's like a positive feedback loop. The more you trust your intuition, the clearer it becomes, and the more you can trust it, and so on and so forth. But dude, I got one more question. This is actually the first time I've really thought about asking this on the podcast, and we spoke last time, and I've been a little bit more vocal recently about like what Tyro is and why I decided to make the podcast, the Tyro Experience, and the overall like brand image Tyro. The spirit of Tyro, in my opinion, simply put, is someone who's in an arena and wants to fight and is willing to fight. And so the question I want to pose to you, and you're in an interesting situation because you're a literal fighter. Like I mean, in the context, a broader context than your MMA career. What arena are you in? Like what are you fighting for?
Yeah, I am. That's a good deep question because it's been changing. So I am fighting for my own freedom. First off, to break away from the cycle, to not have to have a boss and pay everything I need to, and not have clean air, not have clean water, and have to, jump through these hula hoops. So I'm fighting right now for my own freedom to move me, my girlfriend, my 6 animals into like a compound, like a homestead, and have that security there. I'm fighting also so that she doesn't have to have a boss, and that we could be taken care of financially, and just have honestly the bare minimum, which is land, water, clean air, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things. For my brothers, I'm fighting for them, for their freedom as well. Like the people who stand next to me and behind me. And I'm also fighting for their health and making sure that, that they know what's right for them. They don't fall into the traps of like thinking Pop-Tarts before a workout are the best thing for you. And then I'm making sure as hell that I am fighting right now to make people more aware of alternative things that could help them so that they don't get caught up in the pharmaceutical profit machine. So the biggest battle I'm doing is just kind of spreading information and awareness, hoping to be that beacon, but then also like hopefully be able to offer a ton of different things that can make people feel good so that they can get their life back and chase their passions, not chase like getting back to baseline before even passion. Because some people don't get the opportunity to chase their passions. Some people don't get the opportunity to sit here on a podcast and shoot the shit for 2 hours with a buddy, you know what I mean? Like, and have a great conversation. Some people are waking up and just trying to fucking function. And that shit's sickening to me. There's a girl that was just vax injured I'm talking to on Twitter. And she was like, I've tried it all. It's not fucking working. Fuck your spirit waters, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, she has such bad neurological issues. Now she can't even walk. I was like, dude, that is such a hard battle. Like, she doesn't just get to wake up and chase dreams. She's just trying to get back to, like, base level. So I'm fighting for everyone just to be able to, like, have the opportunity just to do something in this world and make it better. And so I'm in a few different arenas in that aspect, and depends on, like, who it is. And I heard that saying before where it was like, what political party are you? It was like, well, for my community, I'm a socialist. For my family, I'm a conservative. It's like, it depends on, like, who we're fighting for. So for me, my family, my girlfriend, my fucking 2 dogs, like, they're first on the list, first off. Like, but everybody else, like, I'm fighting for their freedom, so that they don't have to work their asses off. Like, my mom should not have a boss. No man should ever be able to tell my mom, other than, like, maybe her partner, and, like, they're working together, and not even, like, an authoritative way, but no man should be able to tell my mom where she has to be at what time. Fuck that. There's no way, shape, or form that I'm okay with that. And every day I live that, she has a job, my little sister has a job, and my older sister has a job, and, like, no. Like, my nephew's coming up, and I want him to be able to do whatever he wants to do, too. So, fighting for freedom, and then for everyone else, I'm fighting for, like, making sure they don't fall into the trap of the profit machine, which is pharmaceuticals, like, whatever it may be, and that they can have their health.
I salute you, brother. That's a worthy fight, in my opinion. And I feel that I share a lot of those arenas, frankly. Like, I'm glad that I asked that question, because that's a deep insight into why you're actually doing the shit that you're doing. That's a deep insight as to why you have that sign behind you and those 150 boxes or whatever, and it's a sign as to why you're going to spar tonight and you're doing all these things. And I think that's insight that people need to see for specifically a person like you, but also, like you mentioned, dude, the authenticity of everybody. Everybody's got a story, and I'm grateful that you come back on a second time and sharing a little bit more of yours, man. I'm grateful to know you, grateful for your help. This has been a real good conversation as well.
Dude, it's likewise, and I'm glad we just got to shoot the shit this one a little bit too. So I think the third one we're gonna talk about flat Earth and fucking aliens. But
hey, the third one's gonna be in person. That's what I'm saying. Round 3 is gonna be in person.
Done. Goals.
Come train in Vegas for a weekend.
Goals.
Record a pod.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, that's probably gonna happen. That has to happen. We're not doing it if it's not in person.
Let's do it. Let's commit to it, man. But any last things? I mean, where can people find you? What else you got to say?
Meraki Medicinal on all platforms except for Facebook because there's too many old fucking people there I don't like arguing with. And then Vance E on Twitter, Vance FC on Instagram. But man, yeah, follow anything you want. But more importantly, if you guys just want to get methylene blue or anything like that, or even ask me a question about it or anything like shape or form, trying to help somebody with diseases and maybe you don't know, or like even a family member nutrition, shoot me a DM and at Vance E on Twitter. So just Vance with 2 E's. Easiest way to get a hold of me. And dude, I promise you, like I will treat you like you're a friend and I'll do my best to make sure that you have good info. So
Right on. All right, brother. It's been a real pleasure.
all right, my man.
And with that, I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation with Vance. Vance has become a friend and has been more than willing to help when I've asked questions. He's provided insights to me from business perspectives, from life perspectives, from health perspectives, and I'm grateful for his help, and I'm equally grateful that he's on my team. His energy and passion for vital and sovereign living, along with his knowledge and understanding, combined for some insightful conversation and some really, really valid perspectives. Be sure to check Vance out at Vance E, that's VANCE on Twitter, Vance FC, that's VANCEFC on Instagram, and MerakiMedicinal.com, that's MERAKIMEDICINAL, Meraki Medicinal. Thank you for being a part of the Tyro Experience. Until next time, stand firm in the arena.